It's midweek and it's now time for us to do the news on the AM show. Let's start off with the presidency, where President Akufo-Addo is optimistic the best economic situation of Ghana is yet to come. Ghana is currently looking to the International Monetary Fund for a bailout, but meeting conditions for such a program is proving difficult. President Akufo-Addo is counting on the collective resolve of Guineans to turn the fortunes of the country around. He was speaking at a New Year service at the Jubilee House.
I want to use this opportunity to congratulate Ghanaians again on the occasion of the 30th anniversary of constitutional rule in the Fourth Republic. 30 years ago, we, the Ghanaian people, resolved to build under the Most High God a united nation grounded in democratic values and in the rule of law. We have indeed advanced a great deal by the grace of God towards this goal. And I reiterate my confidence that with the spirit of fairness, hard work, integrity, and reconciliation, the best days of Mother Ghana lie ahead of us. Even though we're presently confronted with difficulties in our economic performance, I do not doubt our collective resolve, as I said on 6th January, to work our way out of these challenges and put our nation back onto the path of progress and prosperity.
Meanwhile, Volta Regional Chairman of the governing New Patriotic Party, Makafui Kofi Wanya, is asking his fellow patriots to protect the party's unity as they head towards the presidential candidate race.
The Volta Regional Annual New Year Party provided a platform for members of the NPP to make merry, share ideas and strategize towards retaining power in 2024. The event was attended by executive office holders of the NPP and some government appointees. Addressing the gathering, the Volta Regional NPP chairman, Makafui Kofi Wanya, admonished the party faithful to ensure the upcoming presidential candidate race does not affect the unity of the party.
We need to be very, very careful. Let not presidential aspirants divide the unity that we enjoy in the Volta region. Let us also maintain our integrity and dignity. So I want to caution a little that stay, open your doors to all of them, let them come in, whatever they have, they will tell you, and you make your decision. The decision we are going to make will affect us in 2024. Because it's not about winning the primaries. It is not. It is about winning the general election.
Mr. Wanya, who touted the achievements of the NPP government, expressed optimism that Ghana would recover from the economic woes.
I will not join the chorus. The chorus that all is not well, and as if we are throwing our house in despair, as if we want to see the chorus of the opposition. The opposition is praying for Ghana, things to go bad in Ghana. That's their prayer. So that they can leverage on that, to come to power. But I can assure you, by these 2 years, especially this year, though things will be a little difficult, but we'll surmount all those problems. This organization of ours is set up to win elections and to maintain power and govern this country. And you agree with me that it's only the NPP government that can manage this country and manage the resources of this country very well.
The executives were entreated to continue trumpeting the good works of the Akufo-Addo-led government to give hope to Ghanaians. Fred Kwame Asari, JoyNews, Soga Kope.
Away from that, now more than 3,000 workers in the construction sector will lose their jobs. That's because the Construction and Building Materials Workers Union of the Trade Union Congress has linked this development to the IMF bailout conditionalities. General Secretary of the union, Richard Samuel further explains that the communication by the Bank of Ghana concerning the suspension of payment on selected external debts has made the layoffs necessary.
In November 2022, the labor unions wrote to government requesting for more than 100% increment in their base pay for the 2023 working year. The unions cited mainly the increased cost of living as justification for their demand. After 2 meetings, labor was willing to bend.
Government progressed to 18. We also progressed to 65.
We've never been difficult. We've been considerate for years, and many things have gone wrong. So I think that is the time to right the wrongs. The single pay salary structure is the most indecent structure in this very country. You will never take anything below the 60%.
The job at Takrady, which is the overhead, is about 80% completed. And we believe it should be completed by June, May, June, it should be done. And now they came out that there have been a press release to their outfit. And you know, the job is a grant project. Being a grant project, when they finished with the claims, it is sent to the consultant, and the consultant will intend forward it to the urban roads. Urban roads will intend send it to the Ministry of Roads and Highways, and then it will be taken to the Ministry of Finance, back to the contractor, and then it will be sent to the donors at China. That is being a grant project undertaken by Sino-Hydro. And now at China, they will do the payment. And according to them, they've had 3 serious major projects done, claims, which should be paid for, so that they can continue with the job. But in the end, a letter which came on the 19th from the ministry has really conscientized their leaders.
Which ministry are we talking about?
Ministry of Finance came out with a press release letter on the 19th, and it was headed as suspension of payment of on selected external debt of the government of Ghana. And in detail, they have gotten to see that there is the need for the government to have certain changes or certain agreement with them. And because of that, their bankers over there are saying they are not going to release any money to them. And this is bringing this project to a halt. They are saying they cannot stay if no payment is done. And I must say that about 453 workers over there are being sent home. By 14th, they will have to be paid whatever is due them. And as I speak, the expert has also been sent. Some of them have been sent home. So I believe by 14th or by ending of this month, there will be nothing left over there. They've even started taking their materials to their main yard. And this is what we want to sensitize the government to know, so that at least if there should any way the government can come out, talk with them, for them to finish the project, because it is as a sensitive area in Western Region, Takrady. And the people are doing neat and very fast job that if a little push is given to them, it can be finished. I must also come up with contractor, which is also a construction company working on the market cycle job. About 121 workers have been sent home. Kumasi over 339. And we can just imagine what is happening in the construction sector. And the government has come out emphatically that it's a year of roads. And being a year of roads as at last year and this year, and then we don't know what is happening. So we are pleading to the government to fast-track issues so that at least the nod will be giving them to complete the jobs for us to have our freedom. This is what we're talking about. Yeah.
So these cumulatively 3,000 workers, have they gone home yet, or they are yet to be asked to go home?
They are home already. And some are even being paid half of their salaries, which is very bad. And we are saying that some contractors are saying government has not paid them their claims. And we want government to also fast-track, do the payments for them, because we can't just think of the social vices which will be in town. And those who also be jobless. Because there are other people who are suppliers. They supply the company with a lot of materials. All these things are going to cease. And it's going to be a cost to the nation. Because if we are to abandon such a project for even 2 months, it is going to be of a great cost to us. So we are pleading on the side of construction that the government should come to our aid, see to them, so that at least these jobs will be done in the shortest possible time.
Now, government believes that it will seal a deal with agitating labor unions later today. The labor unions initially requested for their base pay to be increased by more than 100%, but after more than a month of failed negotiations, Michael Ashale reports a deal may be reached within the next 24 hours.
In November 2022, the labor unions wrote to government requesting for more than 100% increment in their base pay for the 2023 working year. The unions cited mainly the increased cost of living as justification for their demand. After 2 meetings, Labour was willing to bend.
Government progressed to 18. We also progressed to 65.
We've never been difficult. We've been considerate for years, and many things have gone wrong. So I think that is the time to right the wrongs. The single pay salary structure is the most indecent structure in this very country. You will never take anything below the 60%. We are not representing ourselves. We are representing our constituents. And we have to go back and inform our members who sent us to negotiate for them.
Currently, the labor unions have reduced their percentage margin to 50%. Government, which started its negotiation with an initial offer of 8%, agreed to increase the base pay to 18%.
Unfortunately, we have had to table something anytime we have met, but Labour insists on a figure. So we are going back and we'll reconvene.
But Labour has rejected that offer and is asking for more.
Government says they are going to consult. We also stated that we're going to meet our constituents and then we also give them feedback.
At its latest meeting, both parties agreed to bring finality to their negotiations. Here is Deputy Labour Minister Bright Rekubrobe.
We have both decided to come tomorrow to conclude on our negotiations. So tomorrow, God willing, we will share any information, anywhere we have reached, we will let you know.
Sources close to both parties indicate that government is willing to step up its offer to 20%, whereas the labor unions are making fresh demand for 50% increment in their base pay. For JoyNews, Michael Ashale.
Now, the future of Upper West Region's best students in the 2018 Basic Education Certificate examination appears to be in limbo despite another sterling performance in the 2021 West Africa Senior High School Certificate examination. 20-year-old James Jokpiati from Kun in Chire, who got aggregate 7 in the WASI, was offered a Doctor of Pharmacy at the University of Health and Allied Sciences, but he has difficulty raising the required amounts to kickstart his university education. Rafik Salam reports.
Inside the compound of Joropete is a middle-aged woman and 4 children. Each of them is hand-picking and winnowing rice for it to be used to prepare the day's meal for them. It is 11 a.m. already. You can call it brunch because they haven't eaten since morning. It is the way of life in this outlanding farming community. 20-year-old James Joropete has just returned from the farm and brought along feed for the chicken and guinea fowls.
As you can see the environment around, there's absolutely nothing apart from farming that you can do to get your daily bread. So it's just farming that makes people get whatever that they need. Apart from farming, even the school, if you don't farm, no matter how brilliant you may be, and if you don't get support from somewhere, you pass but you can't go.
James was born in this outlandish farming settlement. He attended the Kunchele primary and junior high schools. Despite the deprived nature of the community, coupled with inadequate teaching materials and teachers, he did not see that as a stumbling block.
Because this place is deprived. When they post teachers from the towns to come and teach, they just come maybe twice in a week, and the rest of the days they will not come. So teaching was going up and down. It was not active. The secret is just that I persevered. I define it as just the determined attitude that make you keep trying to achieve what you think is not possible. So it was just this in my heart that encouragement, that motivated me to keep trying. So it was just, whenever I thought of this definition of perseverance, that alone gave me an inspiration and self-motivation.
He attained aggregate 7 in the Basic Education Certificate Examination, BCE, thus making him the best student in the Upper West region in 2018. His reward was a date with President Akufo-Addo, a dream he never envisioned could materialize, but which has also spurred him to greater height.
I thought I was actually dreaming, because initially I didn't think I could have such an opportunity. Looking at where I'm coming from, and I didn't think it was at a position to help me go that far. But at the point of meeting the president and shaking hands with him, in fact, I was really surprised and then also very happy as well. So that was also another point that motivated me to keep working hard.
He gained admission into Nondom Senior High School, where he met students from very endowed homes and schools. That surely did not calm him down, though he initially was nervous.
Initially, I thought there was no way for me, because already they have made it and then they will continue to make it ahead of me. I was nervous. So things were always popping up from my mind that, can I make it among all these people? But I said personally to myself that I'll keep the focus. That determined attitude, that helped me move right from my basic school to that place.
James Yorpiete, after 3 years of offering general science, he reproduced his BEC results and attained aggregate 7 and offered admission to pursue doctor in pharmacy at the University of Health and Allied Sciences, UHAS. The last time I was in this community was some 13 years ago. The highest learner in the community was a JSS graduate. Today, the community can boast of one person who has completed the university. There's another person who is still pursuing his course at the university. The admission of James Yorpiete clearly means that he is the third person from this community to go to university. James, however, is in a limbo as to how his 6-year university education will be funded. He considered that the maize of local chicken and guinea fowls he owns can only shake off some few decimals of his first year fees.
My school fees is just 11,400 plus, so all that I need was just more than 15,000 in order to be stable. So I could sell all this in the house, but still I will not be able to go to the school. So despite having all this, the poverty level is still extensive.
With the deadline of the payment of fees fast approaching, his only hope for now is the West Member of Parliament, Superintendent retired Peter Lanchino Tubu, who has pledged to shoulder that responsibility.
If you are in Kunchile and you can actually qualify for a presidential award, in fact, naturally you are a brain, but I will give the credit to the teachers as well. He wasn't only the only student. Many others did well, but he was just outstanding. And he went ahead to prove it even at the senior high level. And such students should be inspired. And as a politician, believing that I am building better leaders around myself, I can't afford but to support him to go further. Well, his school fees is over 8,000, accommodation over 3,000. Basically, what it means is that every year I should be prepared to spend not less than 15,000 Ghana cedis to enable him stay on course for 6 years. And I'm very willing to do the best that I can to keep him in school until he graduates.
James is living in this community with his uncles and 10 other younger cousins. His parents are domiciled in the southern Gulf of the country, working in cocoa farms for peanuts.
When we got the admission, I was wondering, this is the opportunity, but now how are we going to get the money to finance him to go? But today I am very happy MP has given him this kind of support. So I am very happy with our Honorable MP Peter Lanchino Tubu for his support he has given to James.
In outlandish communities such as Kunchele, there are several of James who are around and who need a little push so that their life dreams will come true. Reporting for JoyNews, Rafik Salam, Kunchele.
Now, basic schools across the country have reopened for a new academic year. Pupils are therefore excited to return to school after the Christmas and New Year break. But at the State Experimental Basic 2 School in Kumasi, lack of furniture remains a major challenge. Lab FM's Nana Boache Yadom has more in the following report.
Furniture deficits coupled with other infrastructural challenges has been identified as a hindrance to good academic activities. The headmaster of State Experimental School, Solomon Osei Kankam, says amidst the joy of students returning to school, furniture shortages has become a burden.
All newcomers who are coming will have to come with their own furniture. Why is that so? Yeah, the problem is that we have the space. We have vacancy to admit. But the furniture, that's the problem. Like I said, most of our furniture are broken, and then you don't have, sometimes you have 3 students sitting on 2. School reopened today for the 2023 academic year, first term. And thanks be to God, the children are here in their numbers. The parents brought them as early as 6:30, 6:15. About 60% of the students were already in school. As we speak, I can confidently say that we have about 85 to 88% of the pupils in school.
So as we explore some challenges here at the State Experimental School, some students also share their joy as school reopens today.
I'm excited to come to school, and I'm very happy that I could see my friends. I'm also happy that my teachers made me very hard to learn and go to the next class. And I'm saying that I will study hard and I won't play anymore so that I could jump to the next class.
I feel happy because I did not see my friends, but now I reopen. I will learn hard to go to the next class.
I'm not going to play for this semester because I have promised that this semester I will learn to be first in class, and I will be first in class in all class, Form 1, so that my parents will be happy with me and take me wherever I want to go.
So this has been the response of students as school reopens for the 2022-2023 academic year here at State Experimental School. Nana Boache Dankwayado reporting for JoyNews.
That's all for the news. My name is Pakwesi Shando. For more, log on to www.majoyonline.com.
Hi, welcome to the AM show. Thanks for staying with us and thanks for making us part of your morning. Now it's time for us to look into the papers, and we're doing this with Dr. Asa Asante, who is a lecturer at the University of Ghana. He's a political science analyst as well. He's joining us for us to go into the papers. I have with me this morning the Daily Graphic. I have the Ghanaian Times, the Daily Guide newspaper, the New Crusading Guide, the Meridian, the Republic, and the Publisher. So that's it. Now, on the front page of the Daily Graphic, it says, a great minister resigns to contest MPP flag bearership. Alan Chiramanting unveils transformational plan for country. 1% E-levy kicks off today. Traders agent expect positive outcome. Ghana receives first gold for oil consignment next week. 2023 New Year School Conference to focus on continental trade. These are the stories on the front page of the Daily Graphic. Let me welcome my guest now. Dr. Asa Asante is political scientist and director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Doc, grateful that you could join us. Good morning.
Good morning, my brother, and Happy New Year to you.
Prosperous one to you, Doc. Okay. So let's go into the papers. Let's start from the Daily Graphic as I was reading, and let's start from Alan Chiramanting unveiling the plan for the country, as well as the Agric Minister resigning to contest the MPP flag bearership race. Now, outgoing Minister of Trade and Industry, Alan Chiramanting, who is seeking to become the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party in the 2024 elections, has unveiled a national development plan for the country dubbed the Ghana Transformational Plan, GTP. The 7-point plan, among other things, seeks to provide a strong macroeconomic environment, a new agricultural revolution for the country, industrial transformation, digital mainstreaming, energy security and diversification, decarbonization, and climate resilience. These were contained in a presentation he made yesterday, which was broadcast live across a number of radio and television channels. Mr. Tremantin said the success of the GTP would depend primarily on strong macroeconomic fundamentals, which would include a stable currency, low inflation, sustainable debt levels, revenue optimization, and tight expenditure control to guarantee fiscal balance, low competitive interest rate, strong external reserves backed by high levels of liquidity to support the financial sector. Doc, I'm sure you listened to him. You know the track record of this government and the party by extension. What sort of motivation or encouragement do you derive from this?
If you look at what Mr. Tremantin has so far said, they are simply not new. We know all of them, but except that some of them he want to take it to another level. If you look at the issue of corruption, for instance, it's not new. It has been with us since time immemorial, and government have paid lip service to it, including his own government. All right, so we want to see what new things he's bringing on board, and that is the focus. All right, because we have tried firing squad, it did not work. We have tried the courts, it did not work. We have tried, of course, the courts and the laws, it did not work. Now we have OSP. Is it working or is it not? Right. So we want to see how he want to, the level he want to take us to. He talked about another interesting aspect in his speech about downsizing government. Is it an admission that the size of this government, which he's a part or he was a part, is that huge? And did he get the courage to tell the president that this is not the way to go? If he did, why is he talking about it right now? All right. And what new thing that is he going to put a cap on the number of ministers we need to have or what? We want more details in there. He talks about issue of industrialization, a good one, of course, and they want to take it to another level. I was expecting all these things. At the end of the day, I want to also see how we will manage waste. Auditor General's report is still a concern to me, and that did not feature, maybe I did not see in the speech. But I hope and pray that all these things, by the time he gives out full-blown ideas behind this one, we'll be able to have all the fine details in here. I think it's early days yet, and then we grant him that he needs to tell us something to kickstart the whole process. But I have no doubt in my mind the candidate I'm talking about. He is very experienced, knowledgeable, and he has over the years dedicated himself to the work of this country, the service of this country. There's no doubt. He's very innovative, I can say without fear of contradiction, and then he has what it takes to lead his party. All right. As to whether the party will give him the mandate or not, it's not me who should say it. The delegates will say it. But I tell you, he also comes on board with a lot of rich experience, and he has what it takes to lead the party. There's no doubt about that.
But talking about industrialization, he was given the mandate of executing the government's major plan in terms of industrializing the country, 1D, 1F. If you look at how far he was able to take it, does it give you any, inspiration that indeed, when he talks about industrialization, he has what it takes to do it, looking at his track record at the ministry?
Yes, if you look at 1D, 1F, it is true that there are lingering challenges, but it's all equally true that he has done some great work there. Some of the industries are existing and producing. So yes, we can say that he's doing his best there. We can't fault him that much, all right? That is my position on that. But if you look at other sectors too, there are questions he will answer. And I'm sure his team are preparing him for that. Questions like how we have arrived here relative to the economic situation we find ourselves. Trade industry is a critical component of the economic framework, and that if the economy has degenerated or sunk so low to this extent, then he must be prepared to answer questions in that regard. Okay. That would not elude him. I'm sure he's aware of that.
Okay. Now, another person who has also resigned to contest the flag bearership of the MPP is the Agric Minister. Now, the Minister for Food and Agriculture, Dr. Owusu Akoto, has tendered in his resignation. He presented a resignation letter yesterday evening after addressing a staff there by the ministry to thank them for their support in a 6-year tenure at the ministry. As of the time of filing this report, Dr. Akoto was at the Jubilee House to present his resignation letter to the President. Our sources indicated his resignation, which is to enable him to concentrate on his presidential ambition, however, takes effect from January 24 this year, according to sources familiar with the matter. Now, if you look at Dr. Osei Akoto as well, how would you assess his chances of getting close to leading the MPP?
There are canons that we use to assess people for internal contest. And this is a standard that we use for all of them. One is your popularity. You ask yourself whether he's popular within the rank and file of his party. I think to a large extent, yes. And the popularity also comes from the fact that the portfolio that he's holding and for which reason he wants to leave and go and contest is popular with every home of this country. Food, agriculture, and whatnot. So popularity, yes. Then you also talk about the issue of what? Experience. You see that experience to handle the matter at the state level. I think he has some experience that can be brought to bear in discussing national issues and all that. There's no doubt about that. We also look at such contests, you look at constituencies that you have, all right? If you look at the Agric Minister, you realize that he has two strong constituencies, all right? Eastern region and Ashanti region. These are the regions that his parents come from. The father from Ashanti region, mother from Eastern region, all right? But so all these things are a function of ethnicity in Ghanaian politics. There's no doubt about that. I don't endorse that, but I tell you, voters also, if you read the literature, voters always gravitate towards these things, and then these factors influence the choices that they make. So he's going to pull people from this region and all that. The work that he has done as a minister, if he has been able to endear himself to the hearts of many, he's going to get more constituencies, and that will be the game changer for him. Remember that Ashanti region and Eastern region are very strongholds for the NPP. So if you hail from any of these and you do your work well, you are all going to get some support from these people. Apart from this factor, we also look at the issue of marketability. Is the candidate marketable within the MPP and beyond? Let us remember that after the internal contest, you are going to have a national contest. Would that candidate be marketable nationwide? I think by his portfolio and the work that he has done over the years, he's also a marketable commodity for the market. You always want to know whether the person that you are electing as your flag bearer, which eventually will become, will contest the national presidential seat, that candidate is also the candidate who can rub shoulders with any of the flag bearers who will emerge in the rest of the political parties. Is he that candidate Does he have the political wherewithal, the clout, the experience, and all that? I think to some extent, yes, he will. And the same standard that you use for Mr. Chiramathing and the rest of them who will pop up to contest the election. But as to whether he will be able to lead a party, one, I have not gone to the field to pick data. Data will speak to this. But I am doing qualitative analysis, and then you realize that he has a lot of work that he needs to do. And the same goes for everybody who want to contest. That you need to be able to drive your campaign around 4 principal standards. That you need a strategy that is workable, that will be able to energize the voters to be able to vote for you. You need resources, human material, to move people to your side. And of course, you also need message that resonates with the people within the party and beyond. Remember that when you are giving the mandate within the party, your mandate will transcend your party to the national frontiers. So you need a message that resonates with people within the party and outside the party. And these are some of the things, including a manifesto that will stand the test of time and deal with the lingering challenges of the country. So it's a tall order for all of them. And it is these factors that voters consider if you read the literature and then they vote along. So it's not so simple that you resign and you want to contest, but you brace yourself for all these issues and prepare adequately to address them, because they will come to you. It is just a matter of time.
Well, during his time as the Agric Minister, there were a lot of, the sector grew, and in 2022, it was amongst the leading sectors that grew well in terms of their contribution to the GDP. But again, people are looking at the cost of food and the sort of challenges that confronted the sector as well. Isn't that something that will come back to bite him in his ambition to lead a party? How does he then approach, the handling or responding to those sort of challenges that will be coming up against him?
Obviously, the approach, I will not be the one to answer. So I will chicken out, but I will dance around it. If you look at the question that you posed earlier on, the first part of it is that won't some of the problems that he faced in the ministry come and haunt him? Obviously, it will. Some of the questions will come to him. One, we are saying that 1D, 1F is working, and yet you have food crisis to some extent. How do you explain that? All right. You are saying that 1D planting for food and jobs. Yeah, is able to what? It's meant to create jobs for the marauding youth dotted around the nook and cranny of this country. And why are the jobs for them? And still we have people complaining about jobs. So that question, I'm sure his team are preparing on that. Another question that will come to him is that his pronouncements in the public sometimes is not the best. All right. Every time he will give you an example that my wife says this, he went to the market and all that. It talks about research in the agricultural sector. Is it going to be easy for him to handle? Because we want to understand the data in the agri sector, what it speaks to, and then how best that data can dovetail into something meaningful for this country. These are questions that will come to him, whether he likes it or not. And I'm sure that he's also not oblivious of this fact, and he's preparing for that. We also want to understand why that we have crisis of fertilizer, despite Russia, Ukraine, because we've heard stories where people push this fertilizer outside this country to other places and all that. Some using it for some unwanted programs and all that. All right. How were they able to do that? What were the mechanisms that were put in place by the ministry to address this? These are some of the things that will come. But in all this, the summary is that his work is going to be scrutinized, because politics is nothing but contest of ideas yes, you churn out your ideas, but the referendum of your work that you have done will have to speak for him. So I'm sure he's putting all together, and more questions are going to come from such areas and any other areas that people would deem fit, because that ministry is the life of every human being in this country and beyond. So questions will come from all sectors. I have no doubt in my mind.
Final story from the Daily Graphics. I support anti-corruption institutions. Former President Mahama urges citizens. Former President John Dramani Mahama has urged the citizenry to support the anti-corruption institutions to carry out their duties fairly and courageously without interference. Mr. Mahama said this in a Facebook post yesterday in reaction to a recent pronouncement by President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo that Akonta Mining Company was not involved in any illegal mining activities anywhere in the country. President Akufo-Addo was said to have made the statement while addressing the Catholic Bishops' Conference at the 16th Biennial Congress of the National Union of Ghana Catholic Diocesan Priest Association in Koforidua in the Eastern region. Now, it's a quote. Let me respond briefly to the... Okay, so that's to bring what the president said there. But former President Mahama described that as unfortunate how and when President Akufo-Addo made that statement, which he, former President Mahama, claimed was to exonerate Akonta Mining, which had been accused of illegal mining in the country's forest reserves. Your reaction, sir? What do you make of
I think
his response?
President Mahama couldn't have said it better than what he did, because I was wondering whether the president wanted to do PR for Akonta Mining. I'm not sure my president, that is his work. And he strayed into grounds that were not appropriate for him at all. Two, he's a lawyer, astute one, very professional, and the issues are before a body under investigation. And he was commenting on that. You are obviously prejudicing the matter, and that is not in tandem with the principles of rule of law and democracy by extension. I was very disappointed in that, and that I'm sure that the criticisms that have greeted this type of action, the president will take note of that.
But I've been told that we have to avert our minds to the question that brought that. The question was asking for that as we speak, what was the state of the Akonta mining? The president said, as we speak, Akonta mining is not engaged in illegal mining. Isn't it a fair response to say that presently, and the minister has explained that it doesn't really then, it doesn't exonerate Akonta mining of what it has done in the past?
No. Okay. No. It is simply no. We don't want to engage in semantics. Okay. We believe that, you see, we are talking about somebody who is an institution in law. That's the president. All right? He's a great lawyer. He understands these things. So some of these things, we want him to shy away from it and allow the institutions to do their work. Once you come out, and you being the big man, the first gentleman, all in all, you tend to, poison the minds of people in certain direction. So this one, with respect, I disagree with him vehemently. Okay. Vehement. He shouldn't have gone there at all. And I'm sure he has taken political or judicial notice of this. And then next time, we will not see a similar situation. Because once you tax institutions to do their work, allow them a free hand for them to do their work. You see, the problem we have with this is that when these things continue, all right, it creates you introduce something to the people that, look, anytime somebody is accused of corruption, the president is the first to jump into the defense of that person. Is it true or is it not? And I'm sure that the president doesn't want this image to be there, because there was a time that he took turns to complain about people describing him as what? A clearing agent and all that, clearing people of wrongdoing. I'm sure the way the president spoke, he realized that he was not happy. So I don't want him to do something that will really give people the cause to interpret his action to reflect some of these positions that he detests so much. Okay. That is not good enough. And corruption is a difficult battle to fight, I admit, but that when you have people in authority, all right, seem to be, defending people accused of wrongdoing in that area, then you realize that it emboldens people to continue on that trajectory. And I'm not sure, given the life of the president as a clean person in terms of corruption and all that, I don't think that that is the image he wants to create in the minds of people.
Okay.
So I think that it will serve the interests of the government and the president as a person if he shy away from some of these things. His utterances, I think he will want to look at them again.
We're still on with Dr. Kwame Asah-Sante. He's political scientist and director of the Center for European Studies here on the News Review segment of the AM show. Now, Ghanaian Times intensify public education on interstate succession law. That's according to appeal court judge. 2,373 perished in motor accident in 2022 nationwide. Bulldog fined 48,000 Ghana cedis for a threatening precedent of a men's good customers payment. 1% E-levy takes off today. Revised rate reduced from 1.5%, while 100 cedis threshold remains unchanged. Now, a bit of on that particular story says the implementation of the revised electronic transfer levy, E-levy, rate of 1% on electronic transaction by Airtel Mobile Commerce Ghana Limited, GCBG Money, Mobile Money Limited, Vodafone Mobile Financial Services Limited, and ZPay Ghana Limited will begin today. According to the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications, this follows the directive from the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority. This was contained in a statement issued by the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications and Corporate Ghanaian Times in Accra yesterday. Now, so Doc, the thing is that Parliament agreed that the E-levy must be reduced from 1.5 to 1%. The 100% threshold, which the government wanted to take off, Parliament was able to get it to remain. It's starting today. With the experience of how the response was to the 1.5%, what must we do differently now? I mean, those in charge of implementation, to ensure that there is the buy-in of where we are now.
One is education. We need constant education to the fact that let everybody accept that you can never manage or govern any political society without finance. It is part of the topics that we discuss in political science as state capacity, that the extractive capacity, the ability of the state to generate resources to run its affairs. It is important. So if a government takes such a decision, all right, and it's approved by representatives of the people, all of us must embrace it and work with it. It is difficult at this time because of the economic challenges that we have. But are we saying that we want our country to collapse? No. No state runs without finance. So if this is approved, all of us must embrace it, work diligently to make sure that the policy succeeds. It is in our interest for us to support the implementation of this policy through and through. The cost of undermining it will not be funny for anybody in this country, especially given our present circumstances, economic condition we find ourselves. We need to work to support it and let it be. And then tied to this, as you generate resources from our taxes, from levies and all that, we also want to see effective use of the money, ensure value for money. More often than not, you see a missing link. Monies are raised, but the use of such resources is always problematic. We believe that government has learned a lot in this regard, because if you look at the comments that greeted the E-levy the first time the bill was introduced to Parliament, one of the criticisms was that people were ready to cough up money and pay, but that they want to see how their money works for them. I believe that government has taken note of this, and they want to make it effective in terms of its usage and all that. And then the third angle is that whatever they do with such revenue, they must be open and then tell the public, all right? Good governance concept talks about what? Openness. That whatever government business is not a private business. So if you are doing it, give people access to information. Let them assess the information. Let them know what you are doing so that they will be part and parcel of the problems that confront it when the time comes. And then the same people, once you are able to carry them along, they will sympathize with you and then help you to address any challenge that comes your way. So that is my advice to government. On the issue of road accident, we have seen a lot. We have seen a lot. There are multiple of factors that account for this. One is what? Our attitude as the road users, drivers, and all that. Do we adhere to the rules governing driving? No. If we did, yes, accident will come, but we reduce the incidents to a larger extent. But what are we saying? We drive anyhow, and the law enforcement agencies, some of whom who are supposed to enforce the laws, of course, not all of them, some of them will, compromise their positions and then will not enforce the laws rigidly. So enforcement has also been a problem, and it has aggravated the situation. What is more is that sometimes the tools that we use in driving, such as traffic lights and all that, they are broken down, and as if there is nobody responsible for that. That is unfortunate. Take Accra, for instance. There are a number of street lights that are not working. You get there, you have to use your own discretion. And what are we talking about? We are inviting trouble, accident and all that. And when we see this thing and we don't address them and turn around to blame it on what? The people alone, that's unfortunate. We need to up our game. There are places that we are supposed to have lights. We pay for street lights. Are they functioning? Who is answering for that? We as citizens must be present to look at all these things and demand accountability. If you look at our constitution, the preamble, part of the statement there is that we demand accountability for people that we have entrusted our power with. We believe that going forward, the people must look at some of these things and demand accountability through legitimate means so that nobody will be taken for granted.
Okay. Now, daily guide, Alan unveils agenda, 3 NDC vigilantes caged, 1 pleads guilty. Mahama Shei's Nana over Akonta mining will protect private sector interest, GJA. I think these are stories that we've dealt with. New crusading guide, Ebusia Fie network shows love, okay. Chamber of Mines, key partner in making Ghana mining hub of Africa, Lands Minister. Police pursue owners of Ferryman's Mart over $240,000 fraud. Busa South DC hot as Doninga, Weazie indigents demand construction of Mason Get Fund KG blocks. I'll become the transformational leader of our time, Alan Cash declares as he unveils his plan from 2025 to 2030. Now, let's just briefly on the Chamber of Mines being a key partner in making Ghana a mining hub of Africa. Yesterday, the minister met the chamber to discuss, issues in the mining sector. One of the things that came up was the good for oil thing. The chamber said they were not really involved in the planning stages. How do you think we should, approach this relationship between the chamber, that's the large-scale mining companies, and the state to ensure, beneficial, mutual benefit for the parties?
You see, when we talk about these things, I ask myself, is Ghana serious? If we are serious, we have signed on to principles such as what? Good governance. And one of its, tenets is what? Stakeholder what? Participation. You involve everybody who matters in the matter to discuss the issue and find solution. Why do you want to ignore the mining, body? Why do you want to ignore? And still, you want a solid decision to be taken that will stand the test of time. That is what a misnomer, all right? But going forward, I believe that we want to engage all stakeholders. We want to dialogue and then arrive at something that can help us to work with these things, all right? Because the decision to get oil through this barter trade agreement, experts, I'm not an economist, they have said that it's a good thing. But the way we manage it, always that have been what our bane. I believe that this time around, government should be able to what? Accede to some of the advice that people give to it and then work with it, all right? Work with it. And government must be prepared to what? Accommodate all dissenting views, however painful they may be. Some of these things go a long way to, shape the frontiers of what you are doing. It is a problem that I have found consistently with this government, that sometimes they are not ready for advice. You look at the E-levy, how it started. People talk about it, expert. He did not engage the stakeholders. And then what people said eventually have come to pass. I believe that that lesson has been learned and learned well. And we don't want to see a repeat of that in this area.
All right, now let's do the Republic Press. Government OSP at loggerheads. Now, the relationship between the Special Prosecutor, Kisie Jabing, and his appointers appears to be frosty following allegations making rounds that the Akufo-Addo-led government has failed to resource the office enough to enable it to perform its mandate of fighting corruption. 2 years into his administration, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo introduced the Office of the Special Prosecutor to spearhead his avowed war against corruption in the country. However, after barely 4 years of its existence, the office has seen more troubles than it's worth, as it is entangled in a series of endless controversies, with its efforts being overshadowed by boundless shadow boxing between government and occupant of the office. Another Martin Amidu in the making. Do you foresee that? How do we corrupt all of these, issues between funding of the Office of the Special Prosecutor and government, saying that we're doing our best to find corruption?
There's a problem of misplaced priorities. We don't know what our priorities are. We engage in activities that do not, support us immediately and for a long time. No. Every year, the Ghana Integrity Initiative have told us that almost $3 billion slipped through our fingers. All right. Look at, we are excited that the IMF is coming our way with $3 billion. If we have managed such amount well, are we going to need their services? The Office of Special Prosecutor, it was one of the bold decisions that this government took when it was campaigning for power. A beautiful one, and then a workable one. This office can only work when it has resources. Our priorities are wrong. We are, channeling money to other places that doesn't support any of the beautiful enterprises that we have. And yet we say we want to fight corruption. You don't want to give the man resources. How do you expect him to work? All right. We channel money into what? Building of cathedrals. All right. And yet we don't want to fight corruption. How do we do that? I mean, I'm sorry to say that we are only paying lip service to the fight against corruption. Because if you don't want to arm the man with the resources, don't expect any results from him. So I sympathize with the man that in no time he has started talking. I know he will talk more, and a time will come if the situation goes on. I'm sure a gentleman as he is, he will just abandon the position like the way Mr. Amidi did, and then goes away because he wants to keep his image intact. This is a young man, very entrepreneur, energetic. He has a love for his country, and that he's dedicated to the fight against corruption. If you look at the few, moves that he has made, he has endeared himself to the hearts of many in this country. All right, that the man, if given opportunity, will work. Okay. Why are we stabbing him at the back? It's unfortunate. Okay. If we really are serious in fighting corruption, let us declare that. If we are not, let us not waste anybody's time, because this is not a time to experiment. We are in difficult times, and that we must be very serious about what we do.
Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, grateful that you could join us this morning on our show.
Always, always. Right. I'm grateful to you.
Thank you. Now, he is a political scientist and director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. And that's it for our news review segment. Sports is up next. But before I go, happy belated birthday to you, Chairman Deda Ayepa of Ahanta West. May God bless you and keep blessing you. Keep watching JoyNews. We will be back with sports.
You have a role to play. I also have a role to play to ensure that the love, the interest for the Ghana Premier League is brought back. The GFA already is on a campaign, bring back the love, but that appears to have rather taken the interest away. Now, Insurance Power Sports says, Field GPL Center. So do go to the stadium and throw your weight behind your favorite club. Many supporters have been given reasons why they do not go to the stadium to watch matches. My colleague, Razak Musbao, has the rest of the story. And this is how we wrap up AM Sports here with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi.
Over the weekend, a number of fans failed to turn up for the Ghana Premier League games that came off. Match day 11 of the Ghana Premier League. At the Royal Sports Stadium, Kumasi Asante Kotoko witnessed just a little over 3,000 people turning up in that over 40,000 capacity Barbara Sports Stadium. The debate has been on relative to why fans are failing to turn up to the stadium. And today we came to circle at the heart of Accra to ask some of the fans why they are not turning up to the stadium.
Midi Nelson. Premier League in India, yeah, the football, but anukware baako wɔ hɔ deɛ akroma yɛ di ɔwɔ sikasɛm nafa ɛna sometimes team a yɛ supporting so wɔn kɔbɔ ball as car wɔn bɔ as gate fee no sometimes wodwi ho a woyi saa sika no kɔ hɔ ansa na wɔasa abɛhwehwɛ a ɛmo adi ɛno so ka ho ti sɛ wɔn bɛtumi yɛ ebi mu koraa yɛ wɔ groups a sometimes we wish say we come with the group to watch the ball but then who calculating sika would be better for the number of people, not less than 40. Eddie.
Time around the Premier League is not attractive. Those days, you know, we have players like Charles Taylor and Co. They are very, very aggressive on football. So people are happy to go and see those players. But today we don't have those. We don't have that kind of players again. Within 1 year. You want to hear this player that he's trying to do his best. The next year he's gone at the early age. So it's not now it's not making Ghana football attractive. Those players, actually, they should keep the players for 4 or 5 years consecutive, so that those players will make something. I mean, will make the football attractive. But this small boy, they are selling them out, and that's killing the football.
Me de Doris Woduro, me turn here was circle. Na first no mine koso no na sika wo ho no na man focus stadium ko hwa ball pa ano so ne yanyi sika kase bia na sese no sika no kura ye je no sika no nya kase bia eso enso sese no ahokyere na wom tini pa kura no ofo so be ko stadium kura akohwa ball a sika no de beto aduane adi ana wono de be ye ne hu ye won kan kira so de ko tira stadium ama mpanimfo no adi sika no a yan fa timu no so kura ne ball no mo bɔ no enya papa kotokɔ ne house no wo mo ya players yenim ball bɔ na nkasa wo mo mfa wo mo akɔfefa nkrofo bi wo mo nim ball bɔ eti kotokɔ kura ne ya kɔ ball ne house ya ne ya hye house ana kotokɔ nso ahye house na house nso ahye kotokɔ ema game ne nya de na first no ana wo mo fa ayi mo ede wo mo bɔ ball no na ball no ya ni kan ya ma akora no ya chesa kotoko ball wa anya ya ni jepa na so sese de wo mo football no nya de eti ya de sese ne ya nyina akora no ball no a ya Ghana football no sese ya ma na akora no ya ni nyihu biem eti am obia ani je foreign ball ho so obia be hwe foreign ball
me ya kotoko fan pa
why so this is you go kotoko na game
dabi
why you no go kotoko
game no mo bo na nya fe be ma pitch na nkasa akra na nya fe enya time dog hwe ball on bo Europe fe player ma pass kra gina ho na obu afu ball no mo bo na nya fe be ma ya ni ntina ye nko no nti ye de se Europe for bobo a it me pack ya kasi wo ni akohwe bi ye nyina enjoy because ball no mo bo na fe ba Ghana Premier League ne de be ma ye hunu hwe uko park ne so ado the fans no be ba no kra de on be no nya fe nti
My name is Nkrumah Richard.
Have you been to the stadium this season?
Oh, no.
Why haven't you been to the stadium today?
Oh, it's because of the way Ghana Premier League in Econo. It's like it's not interested at all. Because when you go out, you know we see any serious player on the pitch, like talented player, or need them things. And the way I'm saying so poor sake of compare Ghana Premier League to abroad for the way it's more attractive than the way I say.
For the Ghana Football Association President Kete Kreku, it's not the responsibility of the GFA to get fans into the stadium. He says that clubs need to take more responsibility, take up a scientific and pragmatic approach to help get fans into the stadium. But for some of these fans, the GFA equally has a responsibility to do whatever it can to bring them back to the stadium. The mantra of bring back the love ought to be actualized. And the GFA and all other football people, football administrators, club owners, everyone clearly has a responsibility to ensure that the fans turn up to the stadium.
So welcome back to the AM show. Now I'm joined on the show by my colleague, ever beautiful Venice Abubedo Lanza. She's here.
Hi, Brace. How are you this morning?
I'm good.
It's a good morning.
It is, and seeing you, the way I know you.
Why did Benjamin hand over to you?
No, he didn't, but you know.
Why are people up to mischief?
No, the thing is that,
morning?
you see, look, I have a friend in the US of A. He says that he doesn't get enough of you.
Really?
Like, he's not tired of you.
So we should extend the show by an extra hour.
So. He says that when you don't come on the show, especially on the news, he's like, no,
thanks for the
fairness,
kind words. Thanks for the kind words.
You're not just pretty in face alone. No. You're pretty in the heart as well. So that makes you.
Hey, Ade.
All right then. Okay, so Venice, we're talking about the huge issue. The debt exchange program that is now facing a lot of challenges because we don't know whether we're going right or we're going left.
That's very important, and it's also important because it's directly linked to our ability to secure an agreement with the IMF at the board level, which then translates into helping us solve our current economic problems. So this is a big deal, and we know the different phases this exchange program has gone through, from it being one that didn't involve individual bondholders to now involving them, and then we're seeing that there's some hesitance here, and it's important that we focus on this if we really want to see our economy get better.
So let's then break down the issues in terms of the bondholders and what they say and what it means to the economy. Now, so the thing is about the debt exchange crisis, the case of individual bondholders. Now, how many bondholders are we even talking about? Look at it. We have 250 individual bondholders to government. And what are they saying? They're saying that spare us our bonds. Don't touch them. But there's a lot of issues with this whole bond issue. You remember that there was this talk about individual bondholders not being involved. Now, on 5th December 2022, the finance minister said, for emphasis, and this is a quote, and this is a quote from him, for emphasis, this domestic debt exchange program will not affect individual bondholders. Then on December 23rd, 2022, there's that U-turn. A quote again from him, the type of investors that can participate in the invitation to exchange was expanded to now include individual investors. Remember that on 5th of December, the minister said individual bondholders are excluded. What does that mean? Now, according to the 2021 debt report, the holdings by the non-bank sector increased in 2021 to 33.8% from 30.2% in 2020. This is mainly attributed to the increased participation of individual investors as well as firms and institutions. Now, let's look at in terms of, money. How much do these investors contribute to, or how much are we talking about? Now, in 2018, individual bondholders or investors had up to 5.67 billion. In 2019, it grew to 8.68 billion. Then in 2020, it jumped to 12.414 billion. It means a lot of people were now investing into the domestic bond, In 2021, it grew to 16.72 billion. And all of these are in Ghana cedis. Now, again, the finance minister said that all offers made by eligible holders are irrevocable, subject to withdrawal, right, described herein under certain limited circumstances. Now, the Republic shall, in its sole discretion, determine whether to accept or reject any offer, without any obligation to provide its reason for doing so. And it gets a lot of people asking questions that if the Republic says, I can decide to accept or reject any offer without obligation to then provide any reason for doing so, that's a lot of issues there, because I put my money in there and I would want to be told why certain things are happening. But let's go again. According to the finance minister, the Republic of Ghana is a sovereign state. Now, what that means, consequently, it may be difficult for eligible holders or eligible bonds to obtain or realize awards against the Republic. And that's to the question of whether there is a legal suit in the offing or not. Now, again, according to the finance minister, and I quote, the Republic has submitted to the jurisdiction of the Court of Ghana and waived any immunity from the jurisdiction, including sovereign immunity of such court in connection with any action arising out of or based upon the invitation to exchange or any securities issued under the invitation to exchange brought by any holder of such securities. Interesting times we are in now. Now, the Republic has not, however, waived immunity from the execution or attachment in respect of setting of its assets. Now, a lot of issues to deal with. According to the IMF, domestic debt restructuring may be easier to accomplish. That's what the IMF is saying. For example, authorities can simply elect to alter the terms of debt contract through changing domestic law. And that is what we see happening. That's why a lot of people are raising questions. A lot of bondholders are raising questions. This may avoid some costly consequences associated with external debt restructuring, such as the loss of access to external debt market. Now, we will be engaging experts, on this one, the debt exchange crisis, the case of individual bondholders, one that we knew were excluded, and then today they've been included, and all the hullabaloo about exclude us, don't touch our bonds, and government saying that, well, if we don't do that, it will be difficult for us to secure an IMF deal, which will then help us to create that fiscal space to then undertake the sort of development we want to undertake as a country. Interesting. But Professor Lord Mensah, who is a lecturer with the University of Ghana Business School, is on, and Bernice Avobedo will be having that chat as well. We'll all be doing this. Professor John Gachi is Dean of the University of Cape Coast School of Business. He's also with us on Zoom as well. Bernice, so we have these two,
yes,
foremost financial experts who really understand the economy of the country, and as well as the finances and what must be done to turn around things.
And definitely, we've also been having this conversation with these two since news broke of us going to the IMF and also engaging in this debt exchange program. Let me welcome you, Prof. and Prof. Happy New Year to you. The last time I engaged you, we were in 2022. I hope the year has been kind already.
Thank you, and same to you.
Right.
Many happy returns. The year we can't complain. At the end of the day, the next time you don't even know how your investment will go. But it's something that we have to endure. It's part of the economic dynamics. And so effectively, but health-wise, we are fine. So far, so good.
Right. Prof, let me start with you. Clearly, we've been talking about this since news broke of it. We've seen the different phases that this debt exchange program particularly has gone through. Do you think we will see another probable change to the whole program, especially with the way it's going? With banks even trying to encourage individual bondholders to try and sign on to the program?
So which of the prof are you looking
Professor
at?
Gachi, forgive me. Forgive me, Professor Gachi.
You say the banks are encouraging individual bondholders to sign on to. I think what the bank did was just to send a message as a carrier of the investment of individual bondholders. It is not in any way encouraging them to sign on to, but because they are hosting the investment that they made, and they are passing on the information they get from Securities and Exchange Commission to them.
To be some hesitance. We saw that especially with pension funds being used, and we saw government backtrack. Do you see that happening again? A change to the program?
All that only means that the whole thing was not, if you like, orchestrated very well. It is not managed properly. And that gives rooms for government to come back and try to position what it wants to do and get the buy-in of the people involved, and that perhaps we move forward. But since government is not willing to do that, I suspect there will be chaos. As we already have heard that individual bondholders are putting themselves together to file a class action against the government if government doesn't come to provide a better negotiated decision with them. I believe we all do agree that the country is going down. There is a need to salvage the country, but there is also a way to engage people to contribute to that effort. People don't like the idea that they are not getting anything in 2023. Basically, their livelihood depends on that. I think what we have to know is that people have different reasons for investment. One of the reasons is that people want to generate periodic interest income for consumption or for reinvestment, etc. So if you take these individual investors who one way or the other will want to be depending on periodic interest income, that is a CSAT for them. So it is important for government to appreciate that and come back to the table with a better negotiated deal for the people to buy in. As it is now, it is not comfortable to individual bondholders.
All right. Professor Mensah, Professor Gachi says government must come back to the table. We have about 5 days to that deadline for the extended program facilitation. Do you see government having the ability to do something substantive within the time that we have left?
Yes, I don't foresee that happening because the bondholders have been given options. Either you buy onto the new bond structures that government is proposing, or you do not sign on it. So the investor has an option. So effectively, it tells you that a government, in as much as they need these investors to have a successful, debt operations, they may also end up, not getting the buy-in of these investors because it's an option. The investor has a right to choose, the new bond or decide not to buy into it. And the question is, how many investors understand the economic consequence of not buying into the government, bonds, and then also buy the benefit that they will get for buying into the government bonds? Now, it is an exercise that we all appreciate. It must go on. I mean, I always say that in times like this, we need some sacrifices. But the approach that government is adopting may delay, the entire exercise, because it seemed to be like an exercise that government is imposing on the people or the investors as to, whether they should buy into the bonds or not. The country needs this exercise. But then before the exercise, the government went into the space of the investor community to ascertain the type of investors we have and their reasons for investing. Now look at the history of the country when it comes to interest rate dynamics and how people understand the financial space. This morning, a woman was being interviewed and he gave the signal that he took her pensions from the UK and came to invest it in government bonds. We're all in this country when we had this debt, we had this banking sector cleanup. And as a result of this banking sector cleanup, private banks and, private, instrument or financial instrument started, losing the investor community to the government, bonds. Over the years that we had this banking sector cleanup, the investor confidence in government bond has grown so much. And you can see the trajectory with the plot that your colleague at the studio showed on the screen. The plot shows that individuals over the years have been growing interest in government bonds because during the banking sector cleanup, government gave certain assurance. And out of it, the investor community saw the trust in the government. And I know people who take their money, at their pensions, and then come and directly invest it in government instruments. And through the payment of the coupon, they'll be using it for their kind of, living. So effectively, it tells you that the investor community had a purpose for going into, the government bonds instrument. But the way the government is approaching it is treating it as if these investors just dump the money, waiting for a certain number of years of maturity to enjoy those monies. It's not like that. Some went in there to invest as a result of the regular income that they will get from the bonds, i.e. the coupons that government will be paying them every now and then. So if a decision of that sort is being taken, you have to take into consideration those people. Even those who invested indirectly. Some of the pension funds every now and then must have to release part of the coupons to pay certain pension obligations every now and then. So effectively, there are reasons why investors put money in this, government instrument. And these reasons were supposed to be ascertained before the decision was taken. So effectively, I see the entire exercise to be kind of one-sided exercise, where government seem to impose the entire restructuring or the entire debt operations, the sacrifice on the creditor, without looking at, a sacrifice from the borrower, which in this case is the government. So the creditor is more or less going to sacrifice. The question is, what is the government sacrificing for this exercise? Now, I trace back to the 2023 budget that we read in November for this year. Clearly, government did not give any signal that, we're going to go through debt restructuring, and as a result of that, may find it difficult to even finance its own deficit. Because you cannot finance 65 billion deficit that has been declared in your budget, right? From an environment where you want to have a debt restructuring. At the same time, from an environment where you've been priced out of the market. I'm talking about the Eurobond market. So if you look at it carefully, the whole exercise was not thought through. And I can tell you that we're going to use the whole of 2023 to convince investors to buy into the bond. Government is, behaving as if, you can buy into it, whether you need it, if you need it. If you don't need it, you can, leave. But government also needs this exercise. And as a result of that, the engagement is very, very important. Government must engage the investor community very well. Get to know their reasons for investment. And this data, you can easily find them. When it comes to the collective, investment, there are forms that investors fill in before they invest. And you can find on this form, there are reasons for investing. There are reasons why somebody will buy government bonds. And so for me, it has to do with engagement. If we don't take care, we'll be going back and forth. And I don't think, if I should answer your question straightforward, government will achieve anything, before the year ends. We may have to sit down and then get to know the investor community very well before we come to them with this exchange.
A very, long time away. But Professor John Gachi, at what point can government say that we are successful with our debt exchange program? I'm asking this because we know that this is voluntary. And so, like Professor Mensah says, You can either sign on to it or not, but you just need to know what the pros and cons are. So at what points can government say that we can go ahead with this percentage or with this number? Is there anything like that?
Well, well, before I answer your question, it is voluntary, but the approach of executing it is not voluntary. There is pressure being brought on some of the players to accept or sign on to this voluntary debt exchange. And like we rightly said from the beginning, the banks have started sending information to the individual bondholders to sign on to. It is clear that if you do not sign on to, you hold the old bond. But they indicated again that the government has a right. So when it comes to payment, etc., the government has a right not to pay you, etc. So these are the issues that ought to be clarified. If that is not clarified, I do not think that we are doing anything that will bring a resolution. Well, for the government to say that it has achieved its purpose or is successful, is to have all the people on board to agree to the debt restructuring program, or a certain minimum percentage should be set up so that when you cross that, you can't say that you have successfully executed the debt restructuring program. As it is, we do not know that minimum threshold, and so we cannot speak of what government is talking about when it is discussing the success of the debt restructuring program.
Interesting. But for individual bondholders who are still contemplating, and you hinted at that news of a possible class action against government, what must they know about whatever decision they take? So I'd like you, Professor Gachi, to start from what they are likely to benefit if they sign on to this debt exchange program and lose, and vice versa if they decide not to sign on to it.
Okay. I think the whole process is a call to support government to manage the debt. And that we're saying that you just have to meet the bondholders and discuss what is it that you want to do, what is the burden, what portion do you want them to take. Then they discuss, and then we could take this portion, we could not take this portion. That has not been done. And the point is that so long as that has not been done and government is sticking to its position, what it means is that you will not be prioritized by government in terms of you holding that bond. I think it has been clearly stated already. And that is the fear of the people. And also given the fact that the kind of investors that we have in that basket, some of them, the investment is directly linked to their livelihood. So what are we going to do to structure it in a manner that we can reduce the burden that those people will carry, so that at least something can trickle down for them to cater for their livelihood? That is what we are talking about. And when that is done, I believe we can move forward. But when that is not done, it becomes very difficult for the exercise to go. Of course, government can say they have all the power. In fact, government was threatening the people that if they go to court, they cannot win. I don't know where government has learned that from, to tell people that when you go to court, you cannot win, as if they are controlling the court, and that is not a good signal. But the point is that we need to discuss all these things and take the investors' concern into consideration and come out with a deal that will represent the burden of government and the burden of the individual. And I think that is the way forward.
At this juncture, when government has the only means for it to get the buy-in and to get this deal is to do what it is doing, do you foresee any backtrack here? Because the only way for government to get this IMF deal is to get this debt exchange, and since it is focusing on individual bond holders, it says that I am ready to do this, and you cannot even go to court to win against me. Do you foresee any backtrack here? What must government do now?
Well, I don't foresee government backtracking. And I also don't see the reason why we should try to coerce people into this. For example, some people say that if we backtrack, or if this is not successful, the economy will collapse. But we cannot use that to put people who are actually burdened by the fate of their investment to just accept it the way it is. There is some discussion that must necessarily go on. So I don't see government backtracking, but I can only encourage government to engage the individual bondholders. Some of them, their livelihood depends on the investment, to see what can be done to save these people from the burden that is about to befall them.
Interesting. But as you are calling for engagement, I mean, we've all heard that government didn't, when it started, they didn't engage anybody at all. From the posture of government and from how you understand the business of running an economy, is it something that government will be considering? If it doesn't, what must be the way forward?
Well, when I listen to government clearly, I think there are two schools of thought. Some people believe that if you engage the people before announcement, it is likely that most of them will reject it. So why can't I make the announcement? And if there's some backlash, we will be dealing with that. I believe they have decided to take the second school of thought to announce the deal to see what happens and whether we can, resolve it and the rest. So that is why we are here today. So I believe now they have taken that action. Issues have come out of it. Some of them are genuine. And legally, the fact that you have announced it for does not mean that you don't owe the person. Because if that is the case, then you are going to destabilize the financial market, because you are going to kill the interest of the people, because people will give you money at a future date. They will come out to say that, look, if we are not careful, after some 4 years, you will come back and say you can't pay. So that is not the way to look at it at all. The way to look at it is proper engagement. And as I see it, I do not think that the individual bondholders are even saying they don't want to lose anything. But the fact that you are telling them 2023 you will not give them anything is a problem for them. So how you even come by zero coupon in 2023, 5% in 2024, and then 10% in 2025 going, they don't even understand it. So those are the things that I believe they want to discuss. They will definitely lose something, but is it the case that they agree that they want to go with zero coupon in 2023? That is the issue.
Interesting. Professor Lord Baines, earlier you said the borrower, which is government, needs to also come to the table with something. How relevant will be government, saying that, okay, majority are pointing to the fact that government has to reduce the size of it. If you look at what we're looking at in terms of the cut in expenditure, how relevant would that be to this whole discourse?
Well, that is, very, very important in the entire exercise. In a way, it's a signal that it provides out there that government is not ready to borrow anymore. Those who have lent to the government, these are the bondholders we are discussing here. These bondholders, anybody that lends to someone, if the person, gives you the signal that he's going to borrow again, you panic. And it's a government that has read a budget, creating a deficit of about 65 billion, And you ask yourself, where would the government be getting money from to finance this, budget deficit? For it to ensure that at least they save enough room, because if government was to, was decided to not to borrow, right, from the market, and then read a budget that is zero deficit, it sends a signal that indeed government has adopted that kind of conserved attitude. And as a result of that, we the individuals, we the institutions should support government in the entire exercise of bringing our debts down. But government did not provide that exercise. So it is very, very important to look at that. Before I go on, let me tell you that government has a target, for this exercise. It has a target for looking at our debt to GDP ratio of about 55%, from the medium to long term. And then also, in the immediate term, they are looking at saving about 137 billion. And in the entire exercise that they're going through, if they get 80% of that, they will declare the entire debt exchange program as a successful one. But the way things are going, if we don't take care, we may not get that 80%. So let me go on to say that it's about time government appreciates the investor community. It's about time they get to understand that the investor is part of the contract that is signed over the past years. So if they're throwing out something, the investor must be in the know as to how things are going to go. Now, there are so many ways of packaging, debt to make counterparty comfortable. Let me put it that way. If I say counterparties, I'm talking about the borrower, which is the government, talking about the lender, which now we're looking at individuals, we're looking at the, what do we call it? We're looking at the pensions, we're looking at the insurance companies, we're looking at the SNIT and all those. If you structure a debt and then you are looking at zero coupon payment, 2023, talk about 5% coupon payment, and the principal is being assured, guaranteed of about 80%, somewhere 7 years, 5 years time and, above. I mean, remember, it's someone who has given you his money. It's someone who has given you his pensions. If you want to package, give certain levels of confidence, certain levels of assurance. What prevents you from saying that, okay, fine, I'm not saying that should be the package, but it's a suggestion. Now what is happening in the space, the investor community has gotten scared. And as a result of that, your package should give them certain assurance. So if you tell them you are going to give them 0%, meanwhile the person needs the coupon to pay, to buy some tablet, to buy some, to feed his family. To some extent, certain social obligations when they are on pensions. So it won't prevent you from saying that 2023, I may not be able to give you, coupons, but then your principal, you can get part of it. And then keep on reducing the principal over time. Because now that you've reduced, the interest all the way from 20 point something that they were supposed to enjoy and bringing it down to somewhere, 10%, they are even scared of the principal that will come in the next 5 years. So why don't you structure it in such a way that as and when it becomes necessary, you reduce the principal that is outstanding? It will give them certain assurance. So, I mean, there are so many ways. And looking at the way, the interest structures have been proposed, you could see that it is backloaded. The investor is going to enjoy marginally at the latter part of his investment. That is the 10%, 10%, 10% that will be ongoing. And provided the market restructure and we get a benefit of the entire exercise, some may decide to opt out or not. So it tells you that government must really look at the entire packaging and then, sell something good to make counterparty, comfortable. Government wants to be comfortable in the entire, debt exchange. And then, the investor community may also want to be comfortable. There should be a convergent point where the investor community will say we are satisfied with what government is proposing, and therefore we go with it. We all need that. We know that we need this exercise. It's an exercise that if it does not come up, the economy may, be grounded. But then also, we also want to enjoy that benefit of creating the fiscal space. But with the fiscal space that we are going to create, if we don't take care, a huge cost will be created. And where would that cost come from? It's the trust that people will lose in the investment space. If you go into the books of the banks and all those investment institutions, you'll get to understand that. Now, Treasury bill interest has swelled up. Why? Because the investor is now moving his horizon to short term. And all these things are signals of economic difficulty. And usually, when the economy gets to this level, to win back the investor community to go long term, so that government can raise money really in the long term to do long term things, let me put it that way, it will be difficult. And it is difficult to slip the economy to a level where trust will be lost in a shorter time. But how to bring it back and make sure that investor gets the buy-in again will be difficult and will take us longer time. Sometimes, by that time, I always say, myself and Professor John Gachi will be on pension. So, effectively, we have to look into the entire exercise very well. Ensure that we come up with counterparty satisfaction, and at the end of the day, it will benefit the nation, benefit individuals as well.
Well, so government has already read a budget. The deficit that you quoted, 65 billion. You also allude to the fact that government wants to be comfortable in this whole, arrangement. In terms of practical things, what are the things you expect government to cut on to ensure that the investor will also feel that, okay, once government has cut down on this and that, I should agree for this to go on for us to get the deal that we all want?
Well, if you go into the expenditure side of the budget, you can split the lines into, discretionary expenditures and non-discretionary expenditures. Now, the discretionary expenditures are the ones I'm looking at. So something like goods and services, which, the expenditures that we do on our ministers and all those falls under it. Looking at capital expenditure, which, last year we're doing somewhere around 15 billion. This year, I don't even know what has happened to the economy from last year to this year, which we may want to increase our capital expenditure. The budget that was read clearly indicates a budget deficit of 7.7%, which is an improvement from last year's budget. But it was tricky in a sense that both expenditure and revenue was raised. And you ask yourself, how is government going to increase its revenue to the tune of about 45 billion? Well, last year, as of September, before the budget was being read, the outturn was around 99 billion. And you ask yourself the difference that we're targeting a revenue of 145 billion. So that huge difference. I mean, where are we going to get that from? We knew E-levy, did not yield as expected. And so for me, government must look at certain areas as far as the discretionary expenditures are concerned and cut them drastically.
Yeah, morning.
Let me tell you that if government was to do, a budget deficit of about, let's say 7 billion, for the numbers I put down some time ago, you come to understand government should be able to absorb pensions and individuals from these structures. What is the government trying to save? How much is the government trying to save for holding up, individual, bonds in the entire exercise? It's about 11 billion. If you take the pensions that they've been lucky, government has, taken them out. Even that one, indirectly, they are still in there. Government intends to save about, 23 billion or so. When you put all together, we're talking about 40 billion and over. this 40 billion, doesn't it fit into, the budget deficit that was declared? So effectively, if government was to reduce its budget deficit, it should be able to go on with this exercise without necessarily, burden, some sensitive, aspect of the entire economy. Because individuals, I know definitely they're going to resist. Pensions have resisted. And I'm telling you that the banks, which carries the larger part of the entire, government, bond holdings, will be tempted to resist. Probably regulatory restrictions that, government may use to coerce them into the entire exercise. But I can tell you that, if you give them the chance on their own way, they may also resist. Now, let's look at how the government intends to do this exercise and possibly look at how they can save the situation by bringing everybody on board and ensuring that all investors are satisfied. It's a matter of making sure that you cut down your expenditure lines and then proposals on the table when it comes to coupon payment and all. You soften it. To some extent, give them assurance on their principles at the end of the entire exercise. So it's a matter of understanding the investor. You see, if you go into the minds of the investor, the coupons that they receive is a way of recouping their principal. And anytime you propose a structure that the structure delays the recouping of the principal, they will resist. So with the current structure that we have, which has 0%, 2023, 5%, 2024, and then, 10% thereafter. It's a way of slowing down the investors' recouping of what? The principal that they have. In bond management, they call something duration and maturity. I've bought a bond for 5 years. But as an investor, I'm not looking at the 5 years as, the maturity itself. I'm looking at, the effective time to maturity, which is the number of semi-annual coupons that I will receive to offset the principal that you have. So that I will start thinking about the benefit of the entire, bond. But if you structure it in such a way that you backload the bond, where it would delay, the speed at which I will recover my money, definitely I'm going to resist. So all these things are things that government may have to come to the table and then, decide to maybe look into structures that both parties, talking about government and investors, will accept. But for cutting down expenditures, the discretionary expenditures needs to be looked at.
And Prof, let's look at the bigger picture now. You seem to suggest that government may not be losing so much in this because it hasn't really told us what it's losing in this whole exchange program, and it's more of what the investors are losing. But looking at the bigger picture, which is ensuring that we have a successful debt restructuring or debt exchange program, which will lead to an IMF deal and its general impact on the economy, would you say that we are better off if the individual bondholders, that is, if government decides not to restructure or make any other adjustment, we are better off if the individual bondholders accept it as it is now than losing out on an IMF deal by the first quarter of this year as government proposes?
Yeah, we cannot afford, not to have these debts, operations as a country. We all appreciate that how the economy has been mismanaged to the level where, our interest rate, the level where inflation, has gotten up. We need these debt operations to calm down or bring the economy to a sustainable trajectory. But you see, the proposal government is putting on the table, if individuals are, to buy into it. Hello, can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Right. If individuals are to buy into it, government must convince them, because we are all thinking about aftermath of the entire exercise. Government can push its way by changing the laws strictly, and most of the jurisdictions where they've had, debt exchange, the first thing they do is to change the laws in retrospective to ensure that at least there are some restrictions. But you may have your way. At the end of the day, the financial repercussions is what we may have to look at. Because whatever the case may be, you're trying to put, the economy in a path that you win. Aftermath of the exchange, you still have the confidence of the investor community. Government needs individual bondholders. And individual bondholders also needs government. Because we live in an environment where, after some time, interest-bearing assets started, yielding so much that people find it more beneficial to put their money in government bonds than to invest in, real assets. And so government has started attracting this bond. So if you still want to continue to have the economy being stable, benefit from the investor community, I would advise that government must come to the level where the investor will appreciate they are putting on the table. So for me, we want an economy that will all benefit, but I think the packaging is very, very important.
But Professor Gachi, one of our viewers has sent in a test, and he says, if I have
Prof is gone offline.
Oh, okay. All right, then let me do this with you. He says, if I have, say, 50,000 cedis in cocoa bond now, and I want to liquidate it to solve an urgent problem, will I have my principal as soon as possible?
Well, it depends on the maturity, that the type of cocoa package that you have. You will definitely have your principal, because cocoa bond is not a direct, government bond. It is a bond that the cash flows are contingent on cocoa proceeds. So effectively, it's completely dissociated from the bonds that we are discussing now. The bond that we are discussing now is an open bond. A bond that has, has no kind of earmark activity. It's a general, more or less bond, with the exception of the ESLA, which is in there, and then the Dachi bond, which is in there. But the general bonds are what we are discussing now. The cocoa bonds are bonds, special bonds, which at the end of the day, it was issued by the government through the cocoa agency. And so, as we speak now, it's not a bond that will be affected with this, debt operations, because you are assured of your funds, or your coupons or your principal through the proceeds that government will get from cocoa
proceeds. Okay.
So, cocoa export. So effectively, I would say that those ones are not affected.
Okay. All right then. Now, last year when this whole challenge began, the finance minister came out to tell us a lot of things that they're doing to ensure that the economy is brought back on track. Now, one of the things that he stated, he said, other measures to ensure the achievement of the fiscal deficit of 7.4 of GDP for 2022 included 50% cut in fuel coupon allocations for political appointees and heads of government institutions, including SOEs, effective 1st April 2022, and imposition of a complete moratorium on the purchase of imported vehicles for the rest of the year. This will affect all new orders, especially four-wheel drives. Again, government has imposed a moratorium on all foreign travels except pre-approved critical or statutory travels. Government will conclude ongoing measures to eliminate ghost workers from the government payroll by end of December 2022 and conclude the renegotiation of the energy sector IPP's capacity charges by end Q3 2023 to further reduce excess capacity payment by 20% to generate a total savings of 1.4 billion cedis. If you look at the budget they presented, and you look at the expenditure and revenue, especially the expenditure, do you foresee the realization of these measures as were promised in March 2022, and how this could even impact on our effort in securing, reducing our debt, leading us to secure that IMF deal?
Okay, so there are several ways of cutting down expenditure. I think what Ghanaians are looking out for is for the government to reduce the number of ministers and the number of, agencies, and possibly collapse some defunct agencies that are not bringing anything to the, national kitty. That is more physical. When you do that, Ghanaians will see, and possibly matching it up with the budget lines that goes with each ministry, we should be able to, determine how much you are saving from this exercise. But if you pick the route where, you're trying to look at the itemized, expenditure lines that you intend to reduce, it becomes difficult to quantify how much you are saving. That is why we've been insisting that government should rather look at, the bigger structures and ensure that they reduce, the number of ministers and all those.
Okay.
But you see, this exercise has been ongoing over the years. I was expecting that in the budget that was read, because before you read a budget, you go back in the years, tell us how much you've generated, how much you have, you have spent. Now, cutting down all these expenditure lines, reducing, coupons and, reducing salaries by 30% and all those that were outlined somewhere last year, June. I was expecting the minister to come up with a figure to say that this is how much we have saved. And therefore, if we continue to do that, for the next year, end of next year, we'll be able to save this amount. This is an indirect way of raising revenue. So that it won't be like always pushing expenditure lines that will, get to the individuals. Now let's go back to the budget that was read, for 2023. How different is that budget from the previous year's budget? You don't see much difference. It tells you that government's position when it comes to this entire economic reforms is not as if, we are ready for economic reforms. Let me put it that way. Because the budget lines and then indicators of expenditure and then, revenue for the past 6 years has consistently remained aggressive. And if you look at the recent one, we're a bit, we're tricked in a way because government declared a budget deficit. So if you're looking at a budget deficit of 7.7%, you could see that, okay, fine, government has toned down because previous year we were doing around 11% there, about 13% there, about, and now we're doing 7.7, which is a good signal. But that wasn't enough because government increased revenue and increased expenditure lines as well. So the gap between the two became so huge. And I understand our interest payments have gone up because of the, exchange rate and the projections that was used for the, the budget. So effectively, we anticipate a huge, expenditure. But whilst your interest payment is going up and now inflation is high, your workers and all those are calling for, increase in salaries and all those. All those things are, non-discretionary expenditures, which you cannot control. But the ones that you can control, why don't you make sure that you control them to minimize, the kind of demand that the society will look out for? So for me, it's the posture of the government. That is what is bringing about all this back and forth when it comes to, the debt exchange program. We need the exercise, but the government must understand that it's an economic exercise. There is, economic benefit to it. And there is also, economic cost. And if we don't take care and we force our way through it, we might end up creating more cost than the benefit we're supposed to enjoy, which is the fiscal space that is supposed to be created as a result of the exercise.
Okay.
We appreciate your time here this morning. Once again, Professor Lord Mensah, always helping us digest these issues when it comes to the economy, our debt exchange program, and our hope of securing an IMF deal. Earlier, we also had Professor John Gachi, the Dean of the UCC Business School. Well, water is life. It regulates your body temperature and keeps you alive and kicking. Awake is premium purified water treated through a strict purification process to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you better. We have the perfect sizes for all occasions. 330 ml and 500 ml bottles to fit your pockets and bags, 750 ml for the heavy drinkers, and 1.5 liters for those who always want more. We've introduced our special 19-liter jar for offices and homes. Now, you just need to stay awake with Awake purified drinking water wherever you go. Come on and grab a bottle of Awake water and get quality hydration. Awake purified drinking water, one for life. Remember, for every bottle you purchase, an amount is donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center. It's produced by Casa Preco. For bulk purchase, please call 026-235-1251. This advert is FDA approved. Well, we've got more for you right here on the show. It's a Wednesday as usual. Kind courtesy EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank, will bring you AM Business. And then we have that big conversation on plastic waste in the country. You may have seen that documentary produced by Samuel Kojo Brace. We'll digest the issues and try and prefer solutions on how we can deal with that as a nation. We'll do that right after these.
Ambassador Cabral Blay Amir, Dr. SKB Asante, Professor Joshua Alavi, Daniel Macaulay, Dr. Akuritenga Ayeni, Enes Kofi Abuchi, Kolaga Berry. Good to see you.
Thank you.
What do you make of the current legal system?
Your ability to fight and secure justice is significantly a factor of your legal representation.
When did you develop the love for politics?
It was a dream I had from, I think, 1969-70.
What's your experience?
I was a driver's mate one time in my life.
It is worse when you are a young woman.
I'm coming.
PM Personality Profile with Aisha Ibrahim.
Bold, credible, and fearless journalism. That is what we stand for. Duty bearers and citizens know that they'll be asked the hard questions to bring out the truth. That is what we expect of us. It is this commitment to tell truth to power that sets us apart, because we will hold the feet of leadership to the heat of accountability. My name is Evans Mensah, and this is JoyNews. Fearless, independent, and credible.
the plastic is very simple to take it everywhere. You can use it to travel safe. But this in the glass, you cannot use the glass to travel.
James, a trader at Adabraka, telling me his preference between plastic and glass bottles. He tells me plastic bottles are safe for him than glass bottles.
The plastic is good. You see, the plastic, two people cannot use the plastic. Only one person can use the plastic and throw it away. But the glass, you use it, they take it back and go and fill it again. So it will give an infection to people, you understand? But the plastic, you can even throw it away.
David, an entrepreneur, shares this reasoning of the plastic bottle being healthier than the glass bottle.
I like plastic because of the health issue attached to the plastic. The advice given to us on the radio, so it has gone into our mind that preferably plastic is better. If you handle plastic bottle, it can just fall down and then everything's scattered. But for plastic, you can take it back.
But it is not everybody that shares this reasoning. Sam is a regular patron at the popular restaurant in the capital city, Accra. He says with his knowledge of the negative health implications of plastic bottles, he prefers glass bottles.
When it comes to the way we dispose of plastic waste, we don't separate it from the other waste materials. So recycling it becomes a problem, and you go through a lot of cycles to separate them, and cost-wise it's high. So comparing the two, I think bottle will do.
Surprisingly, I came across more people who are alert to the health impact of plastic bottles and are therefore choosing glass bottles.
The main reason why I prefer the glass bottles is that whenever you buy, let's take it for instance, with soda, Coke, and mineral and other stuffs, where they are ready to take the breakable bottles from you. But when it comes to the plastic, when you buy Coke plastic, you take it along, and if there is no substitute for keeping it safe, you realize that they will put it in a gutter, they will put it on the floor, and it becomes dead. You understand? So when it comes to the bottle aspect and the plastic aspect, I think I like the bottle aspect.
So if today there is a ban that let's not produce any plastic bottled product, you would flow with it?
I'll flow with it because probably I believe some years to come, we are going to realize it's going to help us in terms of keeping the city clean. It's going to help the nation very well.
For me, I prefer the glass bottles. You know, with the plastic bottles, it has become a big challenge, and you see that a lot of plastics on the street. You see a lot of plastics on the street, but it is very difficult to see glass on the street. Yeah, so I will go for the glass bottle.
So how is this impacting the decision of restaurant operators? Isaac Lai is a supervisor at Champion Dishes at Adabraka. He says people consider the easy handling of the bottles they choose.
Maybe the person wants to take it out or something, or want to take it home. The person cannot, most of the glass bottles, you cannot take it out. But with the plastic ones, you can take it out. Yeah, but most of the people who come to Champion Dishes, so they prefer the plastic bottle because most of them, what they say is that the plastic bottle is easily to handle. And with that one, you can take it out. But for the glass bottles, when you need to drink it and then leave the bottle here.
To him, some people also do consider the health impact of the two before choosing.
You know, the plastic one, when it's easy, after taking the drink, you dispose the bottle. You need to put it in the bin or something. But with the glass one, what most of them have in mind is that with the glass one, after taking in the drink, it will be sent to the company. The bottles will be sent to the company, and then maybe they need to go through a process of cleaning. Yeah, they need to clean it and stuff before they can refill and then cover it again. But with the plastic one, now after they've taken the drink, they will dispose it. They have to put it in the bin, and then after everything, they have to put it in the bin. Then when they put it in the bin, with that one, it will be disposed into. They will throw it away or something, or it will be taken to a recycle place for them to. Yeah.
Well, so that was a snippet of that documentary produced by Samuel Kojo Brace, and you can watch the full thing. We've uploaded it on YouTube. It's a terrible situation. I'm not sure words can describe how enormous this problem is. I have lived in Accra and I'm using Accra as an example because most of my adult life has been lived here. When I came into Accra for school, around where I used to live, it was very difficult to see plastic on the streets. Okay. But fast forward 5 or 6 years later, when I was moving away from the area, it was an eyesore. So just using that area as maybe a study, I realized that we had just lost God some way, somehow. Yeah. We've just lost it. We've lost the plot. I mean, look, I don't know if you really observe our streets. And it's plastic waste. That's the problem, you see.
It is what led us to produce this documentary.
And I don't know whether our leaders do not see how big a problem this is, because you see, I think that, and I pray that we win our fight against illegal mining. Our next fight should be this.
Plastics.
Our next fight should be
serious.
This. Because the plastics are killing us. And I don't know if you are one of those people who follows the stories about flooding and about how choked drains lead to all these things. Plastics are already killing us, but there's a long-term problem, okay, which is that these plastics enter our water bodies, break down, enter the fish that we eat, and ends up in our own bodies.
Yeah, that's what's happening. So we're throwing garbage away and then consuming garbage into our system unknowingly. People eat and throw, or they drink and throw the rubbish, the plastic. You know, plastic takes a longer time to decompose. If anybody wants to know how difficult it is for plastics to decompose, go to a dumping area, a very old one, and dig.
Do they even decompose, even if they do? I think that you may need some chemicals and other things to help it decompose. But what you're talking about is true. There's a place around the McCarthy Hill called Bola. When you go, when you go up the hill and go down, it almost looks like a slum area. And I saw someone digging a foundation, and the plastic waste that was coming out. And the person was still building, and I was asking myself, well, I'm sure he had purchased the land already and couldn't do anything. But that's an old dump site.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to know how difficult it is for plastic to decompose, they should look at that. So if you throw that plastic onto the street, what you're trying to do is that you want that thing to be there for ages without decomposing. And even if look, people should go to the seashore. Especially where I went to, the Kole. I mean, when I saw it, I was like, wow, this is the amount of rubbish here. And the guy says, oh, I mean, clean this up 5 hours. You will see the same amount. And so, according to the World Economic Forum, by 2050, there will be more plastics in the ocean than fish. And that should scare all of us. That where we get our primary source of fish, would have more plastics in there than the fish that we want to catch. It means that by 2050, it will be difficult for us to get fish to eat.
Yeah.
And even the ones that we are getting now, we're being told by research that, look, there are something they call microplastics in there that we are consuming unknowingly. So we are walking, but we are walking dead people.
Well, there's more to digest on this. We've been joined by Desmond Alumnoa. He's a plastic waste recycling advocate. And also Professor Paul Osei Sampini. He's an environmental health hazard analyst at KNUST. Let me welcome you, gentlemen. And this is a conversation that we should have. And the documentary has highlighted that. Let me start with you, Prof. Do you think our leaders see how enormous this problem is? Hello, Prof?
Hello? Hello?
Hello, Prof. Please, did you get my question?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, thanks.
Please,
once again, good morning to your panelists and everybody in the studio. Yes, I can say that our leaders probably see the enormity of the problem, but things have gotten to such a degree or grade that finding solutions to it is probably more or less, eluding them, and they feel that that's fine. Now we cannot do much, and people are not ready to change, so let it be. But however, I believe strongly that they see what it is. That if we talk of leadership, of course, all of us are leaders, including myself and you, isn't it? We are all leaders. We see the enormity of the problem, but the question is that what do? We only talk about it, and we want those who are in leadership positions, like those who can easily implement laws or enact acts or laws that will probably change the narrative. That is why I feel that they lack the political will to do so.
This government had a great ambition to make Accra the cleanest city in Africa. We've seen the Greater Accra Regional Minister start a couple of campaigns, Operation Clean Your Frontage. Do you think that we are really getting to the root of this problem, or we're just beating about the bush?
Oh, I wouldn't use the word beating about the bush, but what I would like to say is that, there is this lack of political will. For instance, if somebody wants to produce these plastics in industrial scale, what it is that the person produces with the idea that I'm creating jobs. But as to how to deal with the toxics or the toxins are the things that I believe that they are not ready to do. And those probably who don't even produce them here probably import them into the system. They are also, more or less will tell you that they are creating jobs and then eventually create a mess. And so but my problem really is that they see the problem, but unfortunately the political will is not there.
Interesting. There's also the other bit on how other countries are tackling the plastic menace. There are those who place a certain levy when you buy a plastic product, and they use that money to deal with the waste created. So cleaning up is very expensive. Look at what we are showing on our screens right now. This will take a lot of investment, a lot of hard work to get our streets and our gutters rid of all these filth, and it comes with a cost. Let me come to you, Desmond. You are a plastic waste recycling advocate, and we've tried. There actually is a plastic waste recycling facility just around the Korle, but we're still struggling. I'm not sure we've tackled this even 50%. How do we do it? What other policies can we initiate to ensure that this just doesn't become talking every day, but we've seen real solutions on the ground? Hello, Desmond?
All those. Can you hear me, Ben?
Yes, I can.
Yes. Thank you very much for the opportunity. And that question, I think all hope is not lost, and I will come into what I am privileged to know as far as Ghana is concerned, because I had the opportunity to be part of the policy task force set by MESTI since last year, and some initiatives have been happening. But I would like to start this with some of the countries that have done appreciably well in the past, because 2019 until 2020, I was studying the German system, and I had the opportunity to visit 3 different states in Germany, particularly looking at the value chain of plastics and how they are handling this. And I think, and I'll come to one other one, which is the Danish system and also the Philippines system. All 3 I've visited and studied. But I think one significant thing is that all these systems are driven by the market mechanism. That is what you sort of alluded to when you talk about the deposit return system, where people go back and give back their plastics that they took home, and then they get a good amount of money back, which is a motivation for the consumer, but also a motivation for the government. But the difference here, for example, for the German system is such that for them, your tax that you pay at the end of the year depends on how much you have bought back the past year. So every state has its own laws, and they are not exactly the same, but the underlying principle is the same, cutting across, because they link this to climate solutions. And so at the end of the year, each of the companies that roll out a number of plastics in the system will have to prove that they've bought back this amount. So it's a competition, and you can buy somebody else's plastics as far as you are able to recycle it. So it's more like a competition that it gives every company the motivation to get back more plastics, because you will pay less at the end of the year. That's one. In the Philippines, 2018, I was in the Philippines, particularly following the Zero Waste story, because I was in the Zero Waste Academy. And for them, they focused on job creation and local manufacturing. What the idea was that they wanted to promote producing, say, dustbins in the in-country. They wanted to promote producing packaging materials that are sustainable in-country, but they wanted to produce these things from waste, especially waste that they felt were really problematic. And for them, they were working from barangay to barangay, which is like district system that we are having here, focusing on the gender intersection with waste, because they rolled out a number of women and youth who were collecting these waste, and then they were sorting them out and giving them to the companies or the local people who are improvising to create some of these materials. Now, these 2 systems, they work quite well. For the Philippines, it was like 60%, and then in Germany, it was like 80%. The other gaps that still existed is that, for example, in Germany, they produce huge amounts of other forms of waste that they call them the subsidiary, or they call them the waste that they cannot recycle. And those ones go into the incinerator, the other ones that they burn, the kind of waste that they apply heat and chemicals to burn. So fast forward, we came back to Ghana and we tried to pilot a similar approach that combined these 2 in New Edubias, called the Sustainable Community Project. Now, the whole idea was to have a number of demonstrable projects across the country, that then we can have government use this as a pointer to expand. And currently, the very first one that we started is currently collecting about 50,000 metric tons of plastics. And the thing is, we are not directly recycling these plastics on the ground, but then we've been able to build enough data for recyclers to take up this. Because for this model, the 3 principles is brokering solutions, building data, and also knowledge. Because for me, I think that that's the problem that we are having in Ghana. And now we've scaled this project to 3 other municipalities. Adansi South, which is the beginning, Ebuakwa now,
Well, Desmond, but the problem with that, with the interaction we've been having, people think that even when it comes to buying back this waste, the monies that you do give the collectors is just not motivating enough, and that's why people are not collecting enough. Isn't it something you've also seen with the whole system of trying to buy back the plastic waste?
That's part of the problem that, for example, we are trying to solve with the work of the NPAP and the role that I'm playing in defining problematic plastics. So the reason is that we have companies who are on the loose. They are not really having a producer responsibility system. So they are not feeling the responsibility to buy back. And so it's at their mercy for them to buy at any price that they want. But what we are trying to now put in the system is that, one, we want to make sure that everybody have the knowledge about what kind of plastics are problematic and what kind of plastics are not. And this is the task that the Green Africa Youth Organization has been given to do by the Policy Task Force. And then the other thing is also that to give them power. So this year, what we did was that we organized a program in Kenya where we brought all the African waste collectors there and the waste pickers. The reason was that we wanted to share all these modules and explain to people what is valuable where and why you should be able to demand, or what are the barriers that you have. I'll give you an example. Here we have a challenge of, even today, as we have thought we are moving far, we still have a lot of virgin plastics produced in this country and heavily subsidized. Now, when such a company who is always eluding and not taking responsibility of what they already put in the system is able to still produce an enormous amount without paying the appropriate fine or the appropriate money to get it back, you can imagine how that person is going to behave when you bring the matter of we have collected this amount of your plastics, you have to buy it. So the idea now is to make sure that the different working groups that are doing their work are able to synchronize at the top and ensure that producer responsibility is prioritized, but also the local innovation, the projects that are already there that are scalable can also be made attractive, because that's the main problem that we are trying to solve, that how can sustainable solutions be as financially attractive as everybody is expecting them.
Right, Desmond. So at the heart of this is policy, because all the things that you're saying point to that direction. So, for example, if a company produces a local beverage or whatever it is that it needs plastic for, and it's encouraged through incentives and others to recycle waste and use recycled plastics instead, that is better. Or if you're going to use virgin plastic, then you pay more, so that government can use that money to also cater for it. Because, mind you, we also have a waste collection problem. People who are even signed up onto these big companies who come to collect rubbish encounter some of these problems. You're supposed to pick them up every Tuesday and Thursday. They don't. And so we end up giving it to these
now they are buboya.
Yes, the tricycle riders who come, pick them up, and sometimes we don't even know where they're dumping them. So there's a systemic problem. Prof, how do we deal with this systemic problem? The private sector has tried to intervene, but there still is a yawning gap that needs to be filled. Hello, Prof?
Yeah, that's fine. In fact, I followed through the conversations all through, and then there's something that the last speaker just said that actually touches me so much. If you look at how we do our things, I'll come to your question anyway. If you look at how we do our things, I don't know. I was just reading a news article where Mr. Lanchamatin now classified Ghana as a NATO country. No action.
Talk only.
And maybe he's right, because he's in the system and he knows that he talks and he doesn't act. He himself will talk and he will not act. And so basically that is what we are going through. Otherwise, we would have gone past the stage where we'll be talking about plastic, when in other countries, plastic even though, like I already said yesterday, that plastic, I'm not saying we don't condemn them completely, but the way we handle our plastic, that is where we have problems. And before I come back to answer your question, there are so many types of plastics, and most of these plastics contain what we call some additives called phthalates. And these phthalates are very, very poisonous. They are very, very toxic to the body and very toxic to the environment, especially the soil and then the water bodies. They are very, very toxic in those things. So we should be very careful as to how we handle our plastics. But back to your question. You see, the political will is something that is lacking. And I keep saying that political will. And it's very, very important that we sort of deal with it first and foremost. And secondly, probably if you don't have the resources, or we have the resources, but we don't want to put proper resources, including financial resources and all those things. I'm talking about manpower resource and all those things into it, so that we deal with it and probably get the solution to some of these questions that we are today discussing.
Well, Prof, in the Ghanaian Times of today, the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology and Innovation, MESTI, is to execute a $7 million funded project to strengthen the country's capacity to transition to a circular economy framework that addresses the management of plastics. Now, we all know what a circular economy is, a model of production and consumption which involves sharing, leasing, reusing, repairing, refurbishing, and recycling existing materials and products as long as possible. We've had this whole issue of trying to deal with the plastic, conundrum. We have not been successful. If the ministry is to implement this $7 million, you as someone who really understands the industry, what must the ministry be doing so to effectively deal with this issue of plastics?
Hello?
Hello, Prof.
I couldn't hear you very well, so if you can come up again.
So can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's okay now.
Okay, so I'm saying that in the Ghanaian Times, the Ministry of Environment and Innovation is to implement a $7 million circular economy project. With our difficulty in handling plastics, what would be your recommendation to the ministry as to how they can, through this project, effectively deal with the issue of plastics that we've struggled with over the years?
Well, that's fine. In fact, the government cannot do it all by himself alone, so probably he needs to partner the businessmen, which includes probably those who produce plastic in the country, and they probably support them financially so that they will be able to buy all these plastic waste. Seeing it just come on the black rubber that we are used to. When you go to shopping, you buy food, wherever we go, what we have to do, they give them whatever it is that they can, be supported financially. And then the people who will be sitting at vantage points buying these rubbish. And you will see how people will be digging all the way into the soil, bringing out the rubbish and then plastic that is either to dispose of. And that is what I believe that the government can do in its own small way in helping. Two, the government can also encourage this what in Germany, what we do in Germany basically is to you have containers set aside where they will tell that this container should have plastic, this container should have bottles, garbage, this, in fact, everything is separated because the garbage may be used for recycling and even be turned to fertilizer. The cup, the rubbish, or the plastic will be used for recycling and be reproducing all those things. Glass for another purpose and all those things. And so, probably we put people around. If you bring and you brought about 20 of them, you just account how many of them. Every plastic has a price. Like I said, there are so many plastics that I don't want to mention the various types of plastics or rubbish that are around. So when they are done, depending on the quality and then the number, the quality and the quantity, the government pays you, or whoever is interested pays and goes to sell them back to the producers. And you realize that we reduce, drastically the plastic waste and that find their way into the ocean, our seas and things like that. You'll be surprised that I think yesterday when we finished our conversation, I was just driving through just so around, there's a river there, where some small river where some boys have caught them. They go there fishing, and they caught a catfish. And then, interestingly, I decided that, let me just buy this catfish because the boys were just small boys. I bought a catfish, went and gave it to my watchman, and he opened there were massive, in fact, a lot of plastic waste, black rubber, in the intestines of the fish. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
Yeah. So sometimes it's very interesting. See, I believe that we as a nation, we can do something about whatever the problem is, so that we'll not be a country of NATO, as Alan Martin, as rightly put it.
Prof,
and
sorry to interject. I'm just trying to, for you to help us understand, especially when it comes to our health, what some of the implications are. What is likely to happen to us as a people if we don't deal with this health-wise?
Well, health-wise, it has a lot of implications. Yesterday, I think I made it clear that most of these plastic, in fact, pure plastic, I'm just choosing my words carefully. We have pure plastic, and these pure plastics are non-toxic. The pure plastic are not, what do you call it? They are not toxic, and they are what? Also insoluble in water. That means they cannot be dissolved in water. So those pure plastics, when you use, probably you have very little or basically, nothing as far as your health is concerned. But the additives, I'm talking about pure plastic, they always prepare the plastic in the form of adding additives. And I told you that one of the additives, that we call phthalates. And these phthalates are very, very toxic when they leach into water and then the environment. So it means that if it gets into your body over a long period of time, we're talking about bioaccumulative, it gets into your body over a long period of time. I think yesterday I made this, and most of them are also bioincompatible. And so when they get to your system, they form some reaction, chemical reactions, or biochemical reactions into your system, which can lead to almost every form of disease, which includes chronic diseases. Maybe cancer can be one of them. Cancer is, hello?
We can hear you, Prof.
Yeah, cancer is one of them. Diarrhea diseases, like I said yesterday, some of them contain some of the waters that are kept in these bottles can react with whatever the additives used in the preparation of the plastic, causing cancers, causing chronic diseases like diarrhea, vomiting, coughing that cannot be explained, and so on and so forth. So it has a lot of, aside the fact that it can also be a pollutant in the air. I told you that when they leach into the waters and the environment, the environment is, we can inhale them and cause a whole lot of, there are people who for some reason get unknown, maybe unexplained asthmatic attack. And these things, some of them are born from some of these things. So medically, there are a lot of implications that needs to be addressed when it comes to, plastic waste and the plastic finding their way into the environment. That one, I must be honest and tell you, the implications are so much so that the government will have to spend so much money or so much resources into the health care system, and that one will not even yield any result because the situation will keep on compounding and compounding. Every now and then, if the plastic menace is not resolved,
okay.
And then,
but Prof, you know that over the years we've tried to deal with this whole plastic menace. At a point in time, there was a minister who even banned, the use of plastics here. It didn't work. So How must we approach it this time around to ensure that all the solutions or interventions that we will come up with will be effective at eliminating the sort of danger we do encounter when it comes to plastics?
You see, people always feel comfortable when they are used to certain pattern of life. And so to approach this situation where you want to probably eliminate or reduce the menace, we have to entice them with money. You entice these people with money, not as if you are dashing them the money for free. You tell them that whoever brings this amount of rubber or plastic, this is how much we are going to pay you. So you are not banning them, completely. You allow people initially to make money out of it. And as they are making money out of it, what it is that they are gradually, and in fact, to make money, what it is that if you go to the shop and you buy anything that is in plastic, that thing is going to be more expensive than buying something that is in a different container. Do you understand?
Okay, yes.
Yeah. If you buy anything in the shops that is in plastic, you are going to buy more, you are going to pay more. For instance, in Germany, yesterday I said that in Germany, if you buy water, the water is basically for free, but the plastic is what they are selling to you. Anything that is in plastic in Germany, that's where I know best. They will sell that thing to you for free, virtually for free, but the plastic is what you are buying. So the next time you go out there to buy something that is in plastic, you know that this is how much I'm going. But of course, when you return it, you're going to get some refund of your money. Do you understand? And so it's very important that we don't go all out by saying that we want to ban it. If you want to ban it, people will not actually support it, but entice them, tell them that they can come and buy whatever they want to buy, but they, however, can go back and sell the plastic back, and they'll get money. You will see how all these things, by the time people even dig into the sea, or they will actually go into the sea and start bringing out all those plastics without anybody asking them to do that, because they will know that when they bring them, they are going to get money.
Desmond, you are in this whole business of plastic waste recycling. How do you foresee what Prof is saying? That, example, in Germany, you're buying, the water is virtually free, but you are paying for the plastic. So let's make plastic content quite expensive for people to purchase, and also create that avenue where people can come back and sell off their plastic waste. What do you make of it, and how it can affect, help us in this fight?
It helped a lot, and the thing is that, like I was saying, in Germany, it's the states that control these things. So here we can do the same thing. Instead of government always having to do this from ministerial level or the presidential or executive level, let's give that responsibility to the district. So the districts will now be able to they can have waste banks in each of the districts. Now this waste bank is where all the waste will be stationed. At the end of the day, they will be able to determine which ones or how much of it is residual. Residual is the ones that you cannot recycle whatsoever. Those companies will pay extra, and the money should go to that district. That district will keep this money at the waste bank and keep giving that money back to the community who brings waste. That way, at the end of the day, you have collection, but then you can now look for where do you send this waste to be properly recycled. And we don't have to do everything at a go. Last year, Senegal started the zero waste restaurant model. Now, this is just targeting the hospitality industry, because that's where people also go for fun. People go there for programs and different things. So they start with the hospitality industry. You have to transition from single-use plastics. That's the first thing, not from all plastics, but from single-use plastics. So you don't have to use the styrofoam packs, and you don't have to use the single-use cutlery, but you now transition to using steel, to using packaging, encouraging people to sit and dine and not take it out and right beside the restaurant, eat and throw it away. When you go from step by step and then you diffuse the power into the regional or district level, it becomes much more easier, just like Germany is doing. Denmark is doing quite a bit the opposite. Government is controlling everything from the central office. But then they have a very efficient system segregating at home. On top of that, they have a very efficient waste-to-energy plant, which is next to the Opera House. And because of this, everything is still running smoothly, even though this is the administrative level that's controlling this is at the top. So I think we just have to sort of tackle the problems step by step and not keep it at the very top.
So it means for you, policy coordination is also a problem here.
It is significantly a problem because I would want to believe that what we are doing currently, even with the National Plastic Partnership Secretariat and also with Mercy, I would want to believe that to some significant extent, there are a lot of actors who are probably not involved but should have been involved significantly. Because, like I keep coming back to the local actors, the important thing is where will the implementation take effect? If those people are not the frontiers, it doesn't matter how good the policy would be. So it has to be strongly coordinated.
Okay, interesting. But with your, knowledge of how the industry or the sector has been regulated, we are saying that there's a problem with coordination. Do you foresee a change, a positive change in that direction to ensure that we're able to win the fight against the plastic menace?
Yes, significantly. Because, for example, I think the Gender Inclusion Group last year produced 3 knowledge documents. Now, those knowledge documents will go into capacity building, will go into advocacy, go into convening people in meetings, and that will inform people. One thing about Ghanaians is that, yes, we can take things for granted, but if you also inform people effectively, they shy away from certain things, right? So that is one. And then the other thing is also, of course, the challenge remains that if government does not make a step and bring these producers and importers and wholesalers to take responsibility and then promote or actually launch the extended producer responsibility scheme, that will still remain our challenge, because we don't want to have people who are somewhere complaining that we are doing our best, but they are not doing anything, and government also on the other end. So I think it will have to be, that will be the catalyst for all the efforts that are already in play. And then the other thing is also the whole ecosystem of entrepreneurs who are currently implementing projects. We currently have really good, about maybe 8 good projects in Ghana that you can say they are using the zero waste approach, where you talked about the circular economy. They are tracking the entire material in transition along the value chain, making sure that your waste becomes somebody's raw material. And then at the end of the day, very minimal waste is produced. Look at the project that I mentioned that is producing 2,000 kilograms of compost, for example. Even though it's an organic project, taking away the organics makes sure that recyclers get clean plastics, which has been one of our problems. Get the plastics and then you are not able to use it for anything. And then companies have to be enforced to stop producing residual plastics, because companies are now, why should you package in sachet in almost everything, knowing that these sachets are full of colors that cannot be compatible for manufacturing or recycling into any kind of product. And I think that's the part that if we diffuse this whole thing, certain districts can be firm enough to say, you are not qualified to sell this in sachet in my district, but you can sell it in a bottle, because they probably have a bottle recycling company who is forming partnership with this particular district.
But if we are finding it difficult to even deal with plastic, the plastics in general, you're saying that we should even say that sachet should be, left out and rather make everything or get everything into plastic bottles. Is that what you're saying? Wouldn't that be
not exactly? Not exactly, because there are different kinds of plastics and there are different kinds of grades. And the grade of the plastic determines its recyclability and the efficiency of its recyclability. Now, if you start packaging, say, we've seen the alcoholic beverages now packaging so much in sachet. Why? Those sachets that they use to package the alcoholic beverages, they are completely useless. And I'm saying useless not only here in Ghana or in Morocco, where it is quite also efficient, or in Kenya. It is useless in West, it's useless in Europe, right? So Why should we allow companies to be doing that when we cannot use, when we don't have local manufacturers who are capable of recycling such products? That's one. So you take it a step by step approach. And then you will get to the point where you can also now zoom into the water, because, I mean, for the water, if we start with that, it might cause a lot of problems. But then along the line, we will be able to bring in better alternatives, because once you start cracking down here, other companies will begin to think sustainably and then have a plan to transition.
Prof, isn't it time we go back to the glass bottle so that we can save ourselves all of this issue of having to deal with the plastic because we are not ready as a country?
That would have been ideal thing to do, but that one also, I mean, leads to another problem. So what I would say is that the best way, assuming that we still want to continue with the usage of our plastic, what it is that they have to do to reduce the menace is probably to, I'm talking about the menace as to how we dispose them all. What you have to do is probably encourage people to bring their used plastic back to the various shops or various designated areas and give it to them. And while they give such things, they get money. At least they get something like a token. I don't know whether you've realized that these days, I think there's a company or a factory somewhere, that was what I've been made to understand, that they buy some of these plastics and turn them into handbags. And people, if you see people now running after these sachet, plastic, it will marvel you. But I don't know to what scale. I mean, is it that big? It becomes something that is so basic that people now go in, get them picked from various functions like the BT, maybe parties and all those things. You can drink and throw it away, no problem, but when you throw it away, you know that you are losing money. So you make sure that probably you drink the water and then find a way of putting that thing in your bag. So that when you go home, probably you place it somewhere and then later on find, means of sending it back and get money. So, to go back to the glass, that would have been the ideal thing to do, but it's going to be difficult. Let us not condemn it completely that we can't do it. We can do it. But then how do we do it? One of the solutions is what I've given, and I believe that, like we said, and I keep saying, one is not a positive of knowledge or whatever. So what it is that we all put our hands together and make sure that we help the government or the various governments that will be interested in getting rid of these things. Make sure that we get it done and everyone.
Earlier, you spoke about the plastics that are problematic and the ones that are not. How do I, as an individual, know that I am buying a plastic that is not problematic to the environment and myself, so that we can be making the right decisions?
It's going to be difficult. I just did mention the fact that some plastics, we call them pure plastic. And those pure plastics are things that are insoluble, you understand, and they don't cause much problems, into the environment. But the additive that is added, the things that are added to the plastic to make sure that they become molded or they become semi-solid or solid, those additives are the ones that can cause problems.
Okay.
And I made mention of phthalates. These phthalates are additives that are very poisonous when they find their way into the water, find their way into the environment, find their way into the body, the soil and so on and so forth. So that is where it is. So it's for you, ordinary Ghanaian, probably for me, it's going to be difficult to differentiate between the pure plastic from that of the what they call synthetic. I know some plastic can be synthetic, others can also are not synthetic. You understand? So those are the things that become very difficult for us to see. So basically, let us embrace them, but with time, what it is that when you are losing money as a result of buying things from plastic, you are losing money as a result of buying water by the roadside and drinking and throwing it away, everybody will be conscious. Let me just take but seriously, I will just chip in this. My son, my wife is a foreigner. So there was a case where we were traveling to Keku. And then on our way, before us were these cars. So everybody was drinking water and throwing them away. My son said, "Paul, Papa, what is this?" Do you understand? And he told me to stop so that we pick them. He feels that we are somewhere in Europe so that we pick them and go and sell. Do you understand? So that is the conscious effort of them seeing that, this is not good. One, if I throw it away, the person may not be knowing the fact that I threw plastic onto the floor, or maybe it finally lands into the water and then pollute the water and all those things. So why can't I keep it somewhere in a special bag so that when I go home, if I get about 30 of them, I can go and sell and get some money? I think that's going to be the best way. As to the differentiating between the plastics, whether pure or impure, is going to be difficult.
Right. My final question to you, wrapping up this conversation, Desmond. Prof has hinted on an interesting point about helping young people, having a consciousness about how to treat plastic and how to recycle it and all that. How do we do that here? How do we get the young people to appreciate and understand, right from primary school up until they become adults, how to properly treat waste, plastic waste?
Is the question directed to me?
That's for Desmond, Prof.
Okay, that's fine.
Because at the moment we have, I don't remember the number, but we have eco clubs in almost all the traditional, now beyond all the traditional universities in Ghana, and they are having programs all year round, and all the programs are around innovating around plastics and also educating others, including the primary schools, about how to handle plastics. It's classified under the disaster risk reduction wing of the Green Africa Youth Organization. The idea is that we want to train people to understand how to escape danger when in terms of flooding, choked gutters, and piercings from those waste. But also the primary thing is to let people understand the basic principle, the fact that plastic is coming from fossil fuel as a byproduct, and then it contributes to the whole problem of climate emergency and how young people are affected in general.
Okay, Desmond, grateful to you. Desmond Alunwa is a plastic waste recycling advocate, and Professor Paul Osei Sampene is the environmental health hazard analyst at the Kwame University of Science and Technology.
Right, it's now time to bring you AM Business Ketsi EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank, and today some chief executive officers of local businesses are complaining about the inconsistencies in decisions surrounding government's debt exchange program. Let's bring you the details now.
In accordance with the debt exchange program, the CEOs at the forum urged the government to be proactive in its engagement with diverse stakeholders. Former boss of defunct UT Bank, Prince Kofi Amoabin, stated that a concerted effort is crucial for economic recovery.
The problem I have with all these things is that the government should come out one time after he's done his research with committees and everything and say, this is the way we're going, not change your position from one day to the other. Because pensioners complain, okay, this one is not part of it. Because this one, we are looking at it and so why? Get grace with the full facts and come out and then explain to the people one time, this is why we're doing it. And if you have to even withdraw, come back and say that we had to change because we've realized that so and so, and apologize for it. Because you can't just throw any information to the people. It has to be on sound basis, and of course you can make mistakes, but at least come out openly and apologize for it, because this is not what I said. Because certain things, we won't go to IMF, then we'll go to IMF. We won't do haircut, then we'll do haircut. Really, that's not the way to respect Ghanaians. The issue about Ghana's foreign exchange rate is a pathetic one. In 1983, the rate of the cedi to a dollar was officially 2.75 old cedis to a dollar. This is about 30 years ago. Now, unofficially it was about 20 cedis to a dollar. That's the black market. So from 2.75 cedis to a dollar, if you throw away, or if you add back the zeros we threw away, if you take a cedi to be now at 10 cedis to a dollar, you are talking that it's now 100,000 cedis to a dollar. Which currency will move from 2.75 to 100,000 in 30 years? And it's not as if the dollar is even that solid and stable. It suffers its own inflation and things. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is that the cedi has never held its own against any major currency. And the factors that account for this is we have a change in lifestyle. We have a change in values. What I mean lifestyle, I mean about the foods that we used to eat, the things that we wanted we wanted for ourselves and our family and things like that, it's changed. As I said, in every home in the south of Ghana, every evening, every home, they have to pound fufu. And that is local food. Now everybody's eating rice, which we don't grow. We have to import even toothpick after we've eaten our rice and whatever to use on our teeth. And if it comes to health, Kolebu used to be first-class hospital. And Ghanaians, top Ghanaians all went to Kolebu. Now, the politicians and the so-called top people go outside. If it comes to education, you'll be amazed how many people attend graduations outside when it comes to the end of semester. But we used to have great schools, the Mfanzipin, the Sada, Achimota, and all these people. But now we've spoiled the level of education to a point that we need dollars to pursue whatever our desires.
On his part, Managing Director for FBN Bank Ghana, Victor Yawasanti, explained that the program has affected the operations of the bank.
We've been engaging all players, which will be the government. The government is the one who's basically rolling it out. And whatever they do, they have implications for us and therefore our regulators as well. So there's been a lot of engagement since the announcement was made. Indeed, yesterday was the last major engagement between the banks and central government on some of the things we need, because we believe government has pretty much wrapped up on what it wants to change. There's been a lot of back and forth from the bankers' perspective, which is fed into some of the changes that came through. So that has also happened. So we wait to see. It's 16th, so we have a few days to go. So wait to see. We are now going to bake in all the changes and so on and see how it pans out. Well, if they give it to us, we'll be very happy. We can't pay and therefore we're in trouble. So if there will be cancellation, it's also always one of the conversations that go on when people are distressed, whether some of it can be forgiven. So if we can get that forgiveness, all the better. But for now, what we know is what's on the table is for the debt exchange, which basically means that you term out or you try to we are in default, as it were. We are in default, and we're just having an agreement, orderly agreement, to try and pay back what we owe over a period of time through a negotiation. So that's what is on the table. If we get some freebies here and there, thank God for it, and hopefully to mean that it will be less painful. What happened at the beginning of the year, our debts went up. Revenue didn't come as much as they thought. New taxes that they thought they could roll out didn't happen, and then we were kicked out of the international market. It became a self-fulfilling prophecy where one thing led to the other, one thing led to the other, and we got to a position we knew at this point we cannot pay. It's going to affect everybody, the country, private sector, public sector, everybody's in it. It has many implications. There's liquidity problems. Banks are worried that we may not have liquidity because most banks, if we really implement it the way they've said, we won't have liquidity. So those are part of the engagements we'll be having with the regulator and central bank about how we manage the liquidity. Because if we don't have liquidity, we can't support the private sector.
Former president for the Association of Ghana Industries, James Ejay, entreated the government to strengthen its industrialization program in order to boost the economy.
And we think that what we're looking for or what we need as a country is boosting local production, supporting indigenous Ghanaian businesses, particularly in manufacturing.
Government must come out boldly, support commercial agriculture, support industrialists who want to go into agriculture. What we've seen again in the past few months had been business owners who have decided to go into agriculture and then produce their raw materials so that they will reduce the reliance on raw material importation. Unfortunately, local businesses, especially in the productive sector, manufacturing, depend so much on imports, and over 90% probably of manufacturing businesses in the country import raw materials. And these are some of the challenges affecting our currency, the stability of our currency.
The goal of the Maiden Magdan Business Forum was to bring together the business community to discuss important issues affecting the economy. For Joy Business, James Ishen.
Okay, so welcome back to the show. We're just back wrapping it up with what you've been sharing your thought on social media. But just before, Bernice, when we're having the discussion about the debt exchange program, I was sent this by Senor Hossi. There's something called the Ghana Individual Bondholders Forum, and they are releasing this statement. It says, the government of Ghana has announced that under domestic debt exchange program, individual bondholders are to submit to a voluntary arrangement to exchange their domestic bond for new benchmark bonds. This arrangement irreversibly takes away the wealth and livelihood of direct and indirect individuals bondholders whose only crime has been to trust their government. Tied to this is a mandatory deadline which compels holders to either accept the government's offer or risk the threat of prohibitive losses. Now, immediate steps that they want people to take. Pending further consultation and engagement, including the pursuit of legal action where necessary, we entreat as follows. 1. Direct bondholders reject and refrain from complying with the mandatory deadline imposed under the DDE program and join the effort of the IBF. 2. Indirect bondholders, that's investors in mutual funds, cash trust, balance funds, inform your fund managers not to accept the DDE. 3. That's to government. Kindly open a channel of communication for immediate, frank, transparent, and sincere dialogue on the DDE with the IBF with a view of seeking an effective resolution to the developing impasse and the fast depleting confidence in the Ghanaian economy. So, Bernice, that is what is coming from the Ghana Individual Bondholders Forum, and this is signed by Senor Hossi, who is the convener.
These are interesting days coming. Yeah. Well, it's now time to get interactive with you. You can also call us. The numbers to call 0302-211-691, 0302-211-691. But there's a question we put up on Facebook, and it has to do with a call by President Akufo-Addo to religious leaders and Ghanaians at large to pray for him and his administration to surmount the current economic challenges. Reminds me of our conversation with Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo yesterday, where he said in a conversation with somebody who is a relative of the president, that person has suggested that it's possible that what we are facing is spiritual. So, well, I don't know how you interpret that, but your comments on Facebook.
All right, now, Kofi Street, what a name. He says, prayers can't save the nation. Prince Settle Gaga says, with God we shall survive. Kwame Adams says, pray dear, we will pray. But is this from your sinful deeds or our prayers will be in vain? Ebenezer Ma for Samoa says, Deacon Eugene Ba, your call.
Actually tagging someone.
All right, so Abu Abdul Halim says, you showered alone. Oh my goodness. Yeah. You showered alone in the skies. Pray for yourself. Nananye says, what didn't Aglo people do in every month in this country? What happened? As okay, I think that one I'll skip it. Ganyo Edem says, like God truly exists, the pain and suffering you brought upon us could have been ended by God long ago.
So it appears Ganyo may be an atheist from what I gleaned from what he's saying. But we have a first caller. Good morning to you. Kindly share your thoughts with us.
Hello?
Hello, we can hear you. Let's have your viewpoint.
Okay, I'm calling from Tower, like I mentioned. I'm calling Ibrahim. Okay.
You need to listen to us on your telephone. Listen to us.
The message that you individual bond holding.
Okay, I think we need to put this across that when you call us, kindly reduce the volume on your radio, on your TV set, and listen to us on your telephone so that we won't have that delay in conversation. Kindly just lower the volume on your TV set and listen to us on your TV. If you are still there, let's have your thoughts there.
Hello, Rahim. Are you still here? Well, it appears that we lost him there.
Okay.
All right, Abdul Ganiu is our next caller. Good morning to you. Let's hear you.
Yeah, good morning. Good
Please.
morning to you and good morning to your viewers out there. And I think what I have observed since yesterday, I think a lot of people are talking about the former trade minister, Alan Kojo Brace, how he declared his intention to contest the flag bearership of New Patriotic Party. I'm a MPP member and I'm a constituency youth organizer of MPP in the Boyaman-Karbo constituency. What I have observed is that I think he has done a lot as minister for the past 5 years, and we know as former minister, he can do the job. But the one who will do the job more than him is Dr. Muhammad Baumia. If we choose him as our flag bearer of NPP, he can do the job more than the former trade minister.
Right, Abdul. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time this morning. So that's Abdul Ganiu there. This morning we've been talking about the debt exchange program, and we've been talking about plastic waste and how to deal with that. And also on Facebook, we've been taking your thoughts on President Akufo-Addo's call for prayers for himself and his administration. Asma says, okay, well, let me take Raphael's first. He says, although prayer works, let's change our behavior first. Faith without works is dead.
Yeah, exactly. You only believe that as well, and then you don't work.
Sorry.
Asma Kojo Lionel says, I'm happy the president didn't say demonic confrontation, rather economic challenges. Economic challenges doesn't need prayers to be solved. It needs economic strategies. So the president should allow religious bodies to rest. He should have devised economic strategies to solve the challenges. Well, so let's go on to the phone lines now and speak to one of our, Justice, you're calling us. Good morning. Where are you calling from? Let's hear from you.
Please, I'm calling from Akisi.
Okay. Let's hear you.
Please, I believe that as a country, we are having a serious problem, and that is, it seems that we've actually thrown away the common sense aspect of our lives or of our reasoning. And if it happens like that, then it means you would think that every problem should be spiritually solved or prayerfully solved. So I think we should actually endeavor to view our thoughts in that particular perspective. And also, I think that when it comes to the flag bearership of the NPP, I think Alan Chamantin is good, but Baumia is better. Thank you.
So that's Justice. Now, you can also call us. The phone lines are on the screen, 0302211691. Call us and let's have your viewpoint on the issues we've discussed. We've spoken about the debt exchange program. We've discussed plastic garbage, which is the crisis of our time, really. If you look around you, you will really understand that we have a real issue with plastics. And again, we're asking the question on Facebook. The president is calling for prayers to help us solve the economic challenges. What do you make of that?
Right. Luis is our next caller. Hello, Luis. Good morning. Let's hear you.
Morning. The president is calling for prayer. You see, prayer works when people do things right. You see, I mean, even when you read the Bible, in the book of, Exodus, when you read the 15th chapter, I think 23 or so, it says that when you do this, when you do what is right in the sight of God, and you adhere to His commandment, and that is where He blesses you. He gives you ideas, strategies, plans. But when you look at our people and our leaders, the things that they do are contrary to what the scriptures have said, and you are seeking prayer from God to bless you in what way? We don't have to pretend. Their behavior is just immoral. It's sinful, and God cannot bless it if the container is dirty, is filthy. There's nowhere God will put good things into the container. So they will have to change their behavior, their morals. they have to live morally. I mean, they have to be morally upright. Behave well, do things right. Before God will be able to bless us. If not, we are under a curse. But when you read that scripture, it says that when you don't behave well, when you don't do the things right, it will put these sicknesses. And our problem is one of the things is the sicknesses that God has placed on us. I'll put these sicknesses that I put on Egyptians on you. So the hardship is one of the sicknesses. The difficulties we are going through, lack of ideas to be able to solve the problem is one of these things. So until they change, nothing can happen.
Right.
Prayer will never work because the heaven is filled with iron. And when we pray, it will not go.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much, Luis, for giving us the sermon for the day, I must say. Quite detailed reference to scripture and all that. Well, we may be able to take another caller, but before then, let me just let you know the Ghana Revenue Authority wants you to know that persons wishing to apply for tax clearance certificates should do so online or download the Ghana Taxpayers app on Google Play Store or the App Store. Applicants who visit the Taxpayer Service Centers will be assisted by officers of the authority to apply. Applicants are also required to indicate the tax identification number TIN of the institution or organization requesting the certificate so that they can receive a copy. Applicants should take note and be guided accordingly. Kindly contact GRA's toll-free 0800 900 110 or call these WhatsApp numbers 055-299-0000 or 0200-631664 or send an email to gra.gov.gh for further enquiries. The GRA also wants you to know, especially if you're registered for value-added tax, that the Domestic Tax Revenue Division has commenced the implementation of an electronic invoicing system of VAT referred to as EVAT. This involves integrating the invoicing systems of VAT-registered taxpayers to the Commissioner General's invoicing system. Kindly contact GRS toll-free, once again, 0800 900 110, or you can call the WhatsApp numbers 055-299-0000, 0200-631664 for further enquiries. If we don't have any caller, we'll just take a few comments and we're out of here. I beg your pardon. Ashibi Catherine Abla says, you need prayers and part. Unfortunately, some of us will not be part. We'll rather crack our brains on how to feed our families. And Obusu Michael says, we have the men, now you need prayers. He says, wicked politicians. And Max says, we should pray for you, but you don't want to, I'm sure that's what you mean, but you don't want to listen to your citizens. And that's been a major concern by many, even for our analysts who come on the show. Marie says, where's the huge horn reverend host? Ghanaians, we don't forget. Mohammed says, no one will pray for you. All right.
Salvation messenger. He's bringing salvation. I need a contact to Akufo-Addo's management. I have a track I want to record with him at the Flagstaff House. I lent it is turned into a studio now. I have my Ghana card. Okay. Frank Lucas Jr. says, pray for what? Religion Ankasa. Pray for what? Religion Ankasa is one of the major problems. Africa cannot grow. Sure.
Wow, it's interesting. That's another conversation for another day as to whether we are practicing the religion that we believe even the right way. Because you see, when you even look at the Bible, the hand that does not work must not eat. There are certain principles that God respects, okay? And he also cannot be mocked. He says, whatever we sow, we'll reap. So definitely, there must be a balance somewhere. Anyway, well, that's it for our show this morning. Thank you so much for your company, Brace and I almost said Benjamin and I. I'm so used to saying that.
It's still the BB.
Brace and Bernice are grateful that you could make time to join us. God willing, tomorrow we are back again on your screens from 6 a.m., focusing on the issues that matter to you. Don't forget, we're also very interactive on Facebook and Twitter. We are JoyNews on TV. And we will see you, God willing, tomorrow morning. Until then, do take care and stay safe and stay with us. News Desk is up next.